We're all back in studio. Welcome in. This is Three Man Front, Jocks 94.5. Pat Smith, Landrum Roberts, Conrad Van Order, Molly Robinson with you until 2 o'clock today. So much to get into. So many places that we will go today. Thanks for tuning us in. Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider. He's going to join us at 10:45. Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. He'll be on with us at 11. Tye Richardson, who you visited with over the weekend, Landrum, there in Fayetteville at Reynolds Razorbacks Stadium. And during the UAB pregame show, he's going to join us to give us a preview of the Arkansas Auburn game. And Jonathan Nelson will join us at 12:45. Bad news, the Barons lost last night to the Tennessee Smokies. It's the best 2 out of 3 for the Southern League Championship. So back at home tonight. So hopefully we can force a game 3. You and I saw the Smokies. That was one of the games that we did between the Smokies and the Barons. 11 innings. It was a long night.
It was a long night. That's a resilient bunch, those Tennessee Smokies.
Yes.
Hey, back to the Arkansas thing. We were going back and forth and on the pregame, but in the break, I was telling you that the field turf out there
looked beautiful.
It was beautiful, and it's Tahoma 31. So as I was there on the sideline in one of the plays, like a pretty substantial piece of sod.
So let me guess, you put it in your backpack and you brought it home and you sewed it into your grass, and now you're hoping that that's going to take. Is that what you're telling us?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's already kind of taking.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Now, see, when you brought me back, can I say this?
Absolutely.
Okay. I didn't want to get you in trouble.
No, I'm good.
Last year when UAB played at Georgia, and seriously, it is prominently featured in all of my stuff that I have in my man cave. I've got blue turf from Boise, but right there next to the blue turf is a nice part of the hedge between the hedges in Athens, Georgia, brought back by my good partner and friend, Landrum Roberts.
And when you asked for it, I knew that you would actually appreciate it.
Oh, man, are you kidding me?
And the fact that you put it up. Yeah.
It's framed, it's put up and prominently displayed there in my man cave with all my other little trinkets. Yeah, I loved it. So that's cool that you did that.
Yeah, I've got the little square of Tahoma 31 next to the green emerald or the emerald Georgia there in the backyard. A little bit of centipedes around there too. But if I can just keep George off of it, my dog.
Well, I was going to ask, have you corned it off? Have you put the ropes around that little square piece of grass to make sure that Gary doesn't come next door and accidentally does something to it?
Now, Gary's got his spot if he's going to go in the backyard. He goes back in the corner near where the privacy fence is.
So Tye Richardson is going to join us a little bit later. We're going to get into this Arkansas situation. It started breaking yesterday afternoon before we left Social Taco, in which the athletic director at Arkansas has made a lot of friends, a lot of enemies in the state of Arkansas. We'll get into that in just a moment. But the big story last night that was happening in college football was the fact that the Yahoo Sports is reporting that the ACC is exploring a new revenue structure intended to bring an end to all the lawsuits going on between the ACC, Clemson, and Florida State. Supposedly, the conference presidents, according to Yahoo, they have recently examined a proposal that would distribute revenue differently to the different league members. Now, we have heard this before. We've heard the bonus structure that the ACC was contemplating over the last couple of years. But as we've discussed incessantly on this program, when you have a conference that pays more people, in the SEC, everybody gets paid the same. Whether you're Mississippi State, Alabama, Vanderbilt, Georgia, everybody gets the same stipend. No one is better than the other when it comes to financial arrangements. That was not the case in the Big 12 because Texas got more than everybody and Oklahoma got a little bit more than everybody else. SEC, even playing field. So now the ACC is talking about not only are they going to give bonuses for best television ratings, performance on the field, but now they're just openly talking about, Landrum, potentially giving those two schools more money to make sure they're happy.
Yeah, and one of the things that they listed was brand valuation, and I would love to see how everybody comes onto agreement when that number is put out there and the other member schools. But how much of this has to do with Clemson and also Florida State back channel conversations and putting out feelers and kind of deciding that there's probably not a good landing spot.
Yeah, maybe the feelers have not been to their liking.
Yeah, Greg Sankey isn't taking phone calls right now.
Yeah.
Big Ten's good. Do we really want to jump into the Big 12? Or do we just use this as a power play and leverage, put the lawsuits aside, and get a bigger cut of the pie?
Well, also keep in mind that there has been a judge they've told all parties, get to mediation and figure this out. So they apparently have been talking behind the scenes, trying to come up with a conclusion. Now, ESPN is reporting, I find it funny that ESPN is reporting this because obviously ESPN knows the contract.
Yes.
They know the grant of rights, but two of the ESPN reporters reported this morning that one of the ideas that's on the table is that the grant of rights that we heard so much about for the ACC that would take it out through 2036 would be lowered to 2030. Why 2030? That's when the Big Ten and these other television contracts come to renegotiations.
Right.
So they're thinking if we can lower that, then we can go to market around the same time the Big 12 and the Big 10, all their negotiations, and then maybe, we can be brought in and make more money. Well, the other problem with that is what happens to Cal and Stanford? Is Cal and Stanford in 2030, where do you think they would want to go?
Back home.
They'd want to go back to the Pac-12, right? So then you're going to lose two members of the ACC. And according to the ESPN contract, the conference has to have a minimum number of teams in the conference for them to reach a certain threshold in the contract, and the money's paid out to each school. So there's a lot to go on here. I've reached out to a couple of people in South Carolina that's very close to the Clemson program. They tell me that this deal has been worked on for the last few weeks. They don't think it's close to being done because there are certain schools in the ACC, they don't want to be part of this. It's back to the old problem.
Yeah.
The smaller schools in the ACC, why would they agree to this? Because there's already a discrepancy in the amount of money they get anyway.
Right.
So now all of a sudden you're going to take even more money away from an ACC school. I mean, just throw one out. Let's say Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's going to make less money just to make sure that Clemson and Florida State's happy. And the last time I looked at the standings in the AP Top 25, both Clemson and Florida State not having a very good season.
No, not really the time to be negotiating, but I think we all agree that those brands, those programs, they will be back in the top 25 at some point. But, you mentioned Stanford and Cal, and it's not just financially the travel, but it's the wear and tear on your student athletes and your coaches. I was listening. Stanford plays at Syracuse coming up on Friday. Mm-hmm. Stanford is going to leave tonight. They're going to fly. After the game, they're going to fly back to Palo Alto. And then next week, because they have classes that start, I think, on Monday, they're going to have to fly on Thursday to Clemson, South Carolina to play. That's grueling.
Well, here's the other thing. So right now, California and Stanford, they take a reduced amount of money just to be in the conference. Like, they're not getting paid like everybody else is getting paid.
Nor is SMU, right?
SMU's not getting anything.
SMU's getting zero. But SMU's got that all taken care of.
They got money.
Yeah, that's different than California and Stanford. Keep in mind, California is being subsidized by UCLA. Remember, UCLA is taking some of the money they're getting from the Big Ten to pay Cal. I mean, you think about all this. This is almost like welfare for college football teams. I mean, that's exactly what it is. You're taking from Peter to pay Paul. And so you've got Cal and Stanford traveling all the way across the country to be in a conference. As of right now, they have reduced revenue sharing with the ACC. And on top of that, they have to spend an additional $10 million a year just in travel expenses for those two schools. Just what Landrum was pointing out, having to go a day early to go to Syracuse and then have to go back home and then fly back across the country to play in another locale in the ACC.
It's a grind on everybody, not just the players and the coaches, support staff, equipment folks. You've got somebody that's driving an 18-wheeler with all of your equipment. They're not flying that stuff.
No. No.
It's a deal.
And you would think that probably Cal and Stanford, because I know that there's been certain professional teams, they do this where they will, if they look at the head of their schedule and they see that they're going to have a lot of West Coast games, then they will set up a hub somewhere out west, which is very smart, where their equipment can be flown into. You don't have to worry about the transport going all the way across the country, but it's completely different when you're talking about college. So, But anyway, that was the big story last night. Not sure exactly where this is going to go, but a lot of people in college sports, they believe that this is kind of a pathway to make sure that Florida State and Clemson are at least happy in the short term to try to keep this conference together at least through 2030.
So I have a question from the negotiating standpoint. If you're the ACC, you brought up they're trying to get the grant of rights lowered to 2030 so then they can kind of negotiate with the other conferences. Do you want to be in negotiations while the SEC and Big Ten are, because they're obviously going to get significantly more money. So do you want to be a part of that group, or do you think it's maybe more beneficial if they get to negotiate a year earlier or a year later where they're kind of their own separate product? Or do you want to be lumped in with everybody else and hope the Amazons or CWs of the world get desperate and overpay for your product?
I personally believe what's going on now is they're just trying to live for the next day. That's what I think they're doing. I think that they are trying to get to a short-term fix because they want to see what the expanded college football playoff looks like. And they also want to look like what NIL. Heck, man, we might get 3 years down the road. I mean, when you've got a major Power 4 program like Arkansas, when their athletics director is giving a speech this week, and he's basically saying everybody in this state better pony up or Arkansas football is not going to be competitive and it's not Sam Pittman's fault. It's the fault because we can't pay players. What happens in 3 or 4 years from now when out of the so-called 65 Power 4 schools, what if only literally about 10 to 15 of them can afford to continue to pay for their players? I mean, we have Greg Byrne openly talking about how there's not like a gold vault underneath Coleman Coliseum,
right,
where Alabama just can continue to just pay. At some juncture, this is going to hit a wall and there's going to be a market correction. And that's why I think they're okay with lowering the grant of rights, because there's so much they got to decide within the next 3 or 4 years from a budgetary standpoint, what is legitimate.
And here's the reality. We talk about it here where the same donors that fund the libraries, that put an addition on the stadium, they pay out a buyout of a coach, eventually the money has to come from somewhere else. We're talking about Walmart money, Tyson Chicken money, JB Hunt money, and they're asking this of Arkansas fans. I was on a show yesterday in Fayetteville, and it did not go over very well with a lot of the Arkansas folks. And I understand it from their point of view, because a lot of these folks are just struggling to maintain the season tickets that their family's been buying for 50 years. And they keep incrementally increasing. And now what they're doing at Tennessee.
Hunter Yurachek was speaking to the Little Rock Touchdown Club. This is what he had to say about Arkansas's NIL.
And now we've finally gotten their footing at the University of Arkansas in the NIL world, but we're not where we need to be. I will tell you, the upper echelon of the SEC in football is probably spending double of what we're spending on our football program right now in the NIL space. That's reality. So, I mean, you can blame that on Sam Pittman, but it's not Sam Pittman's problem. It's his problem, but it's a money problem, right? Because if someone's spending double of what we're spending, they're going to have a corner on the market.
Think about it. An AD is now basically a general manager of a baseball team. The general manager of a baseball team, his job is to construct the roster. The manager of the baseball team is to fill out the lineup card every single day. So if the general manager does not do his job and give the manager the tools to succeed on the field, that's why Yurachek is saying, don't blame Sam Pittman, because we don't have the money. Like, we can't go in the transfer portal like Lane Kiffin and like all these other schools. So don't blame him. He's a great X's and O's guy. But if you don't have the Jimmies and the Joes, we can't compete. Listen to what he said about Ole Miss and what his recommendation is for the rest of the state of Arkansas.
Ole Miss has about 5,000 members in their football collective. 5,000. We have about 1,000. In our football collective right now. They have 5,000 members. We have 1,000. If we're going to catch up, like I'm going to make it so easy for you. If we could get 10,000 households across the state of Arkansas to give $100 a month, 10,000 households to give $100 a month all year long, we would be in the NIL game from a football perspective. It's that simple. But we can't say the Tysons, the Waltons, the Stevens, the Hunts, hey, they'll take care of it. Because they're not. They're not. They are so incredibly generous, and they have done so much for our program. But if we're really going to get a handle on this NIL and remain competitive, we need to rally people across this state, and we really got to take some pride in the Razorbacks.
That's Hunter Yurachek. That's what he had to say at the Little Rock Touchdown Club in regards to where things stand with Arkansas NIL. That is staggering to think that Ole Miss has 5,000 members in their collective. Arkansas has 1,000.
Well, and I was just trying to pull up some numbers for Yay, Alabama, and also for Auburn, and I saw we're back in 2023. The goal for Auburn in their On to Victory was to have 5,000 members before signing day. So I don't know what that number is now, but to think that Arkansas only has 1,000
Only
members?
1,000.
And their facilities out there, whether it's Bud Walton Arena, the basketball palace of the, what is it, the Middle America, I think is what they call it. It's beautiful. And then the baseball stadium is absolutely immaculate.
The facilities are outstanding.
They're great. They're wonderful.
But you heard Yurachek. He mentioned the 4 biggest donors at Arkansas. Having to go back to those same 4 people all the time. That's why he pointed out he just needs everyday Joes that are welders, that are nurses, that are teachers, that are talk show hosts on radio shows. Everyone needs to pony up, and every household give $100. So $1,200 a year allocated to the Arkansas, I think it's called the Arkansas Edge. That is one of their NIL collectives. Right now, the cheapest starting at $25, then there's a $50 level, a $100 level, and a $250 level. So go ahead and fire in, Landrum. Help old Hunter out.
No, and when Tye joins us, we're gonna ask him
how much he contributes.
How much is he going to contribute? Because he's an Arkansas grad.
Will he match what Pat contributes to the Grove Collective?
See, I'm one of the 5,000.
That's the question.
To put it in perspective, if Pat cut out his DirecTV, he could pay for 3 families' contributions in the state of Arkansas
he's
per year.
Probably got Jackson Dart's and NIL covered with just his DirecTV bill.
Well,
sorry, I outed you for the amount of money you pay for satellite and all those TVs.
I have a lot of TVs.
You do.
He has all the channels.
Not all.
Pat, what are you watching?
Not all. Not all the channels.
Nothing.
No. No.
Oh, well, if you consider yourself to be a bourbon connoisseur, this is your month at Twin Peaks and Hoover, because they are offering their exclusive and extensive collection of some incredibly rare bourbons, whiskeys, and tequilas to you all throughout the month of September. Plus, you can check out their barrel selects that are handpicked by the team and bottled just for you. The supply is limited, though, so check out Twin Peaks and Hoover and see what they can pour for you all throughout the month of September. Twin Peaks also sponsors our daily 3-Man Front Twitter poll question of the day. Molly, can you please tell our listeners what today's question is?
Yeah, so regarding Hunter Yurachek, we asked, do you think he's asking for too much? Yes, it's an absurd request, or no, you should compete to pay. And right now, yes is winning with 73.4%. Right now, no with 26.6%.
A lot of people don't want to pay. So we'll see what happens. Tye Richardson will join us at noon, and we will talk about that. If you would like to get a phone call in on this subject or NIL or the future of the ACC, 1-800-239-WJOX, the courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450. It's the Hump Day edition of 3-Man Front here on Jocks 94.5. It is 10:23, Jocks 94.5 coming up at 10:45. Man, he was hot as a pistol last week. Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider. He's going to join the program. He's got a list of games that he will go over with us for this weekend. So we'll see if he will continue his hot streak here on Three Man Front.
From daily exercisers and youth athletes to elite professionals, UAB Sports and Exercise Medicine treats everyone with the same level of exceptional care with board-certified professionals, state-of-the-art imaging and injury prevention programs. Our comprehensive team is here to keep you in the game. Visit uabmedicine.org/sports or call 205-930-8339 to make an appointment. UAB Sports and Exercise Medicine, knowledge moving medicine forward.
So we're talking about the ACC possibly trying to get to the table with Clemson and Florida State, trying to work that out. They would get paid more money than other schools in the ACC just for kind of hanging out. Also, the Hunter Yurachek audio you just heard, in which he is wanting every household, or not every household in the state, but 10,000 households. Now, what's the population, Molly, of the state of Arkansas? What is it?
About 3 million people.
3 million. And what is
Just
the
over.
average household income in the state of Arkansas?
As of 2023, it was about 58,700.
So the state of Alabama, roughly 2 million more people population-wise than Arkansas.
Does it sound better if he says we need 100,000 households to all donate $10?
I think it does.
I think that sounds better personally. Or you need 1 million to donate $1.
There you go.
I'm just trying to do some simple math here for Hunter, trying to help him out.
That sounds like a plan.
It just sounds it's much more palatable when it's phrased that way. Oh, I have to give $10? Oh, I'll give $10.
Well, when Clint Sterner comes out, who is obviously a big name in the state of Arkansas, famed quarterback, he was the first person to absolutely rip Yurachek a new one on social media.
Yeah, how much is Hunter making?
$2+ million a year.
Yeah.
Just got a new contract. So see, that's the problem. When you make that kind of money, and then I mean, going to the grocery store for Hunter Yurachek is completely different than going to the grocery store for me and you.
And all the perks that go with that job. Your house is probably paid for.
Golf club membership. Cars for the family.
You think he's paying when he goes out to eat?
He's got annuities. He's got, no. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I mean, so when you get up there and you start bitching about money and you're asking a household average income in the state of Arkansas is $58,000.
And in this economy.
Yeah. And you're asking them to give $1,200 of the $58,000 that you earned for the year. You're asking them to give to your athletic department so that a kid can be paid to play football. And you're not guaranteed that that kid will deliver what you're paying him to do.
Or even be a part of the program a year from now.
Correct. So you're asking the people to sacrifice their hard-earned money for a 17-year-old kid or 18-year-old kid to come in that has done absolutely nothing, and you're rolling the dice.
You're not guaranteed that he's going to be there. Now, I know that there are some, there's some kind of NIL deal right now, and I saw it on a podcast, but if you donate to this whatever specific player for your favorite school, then you donate a certain amount of money. If that player stays at that school for whatever amount of time, that's kind of the guarantee for the player. But if they leave early, they transfer, they send you all your money back.
So it's like you're, I guess, essentially like Venmoing or something.
But I want
a player individually.
I would like to see more performance based.
Yeah, I mean, we see that in pro sports all the time, right? X number of touchdowns, yards, tackles, sacks, whatever. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
All right, so here's a fun stat for you. So Arkansas is one of only 4 schools in the SEC that does not offer a tier under $20 for NIL per month. Okay? It starts at 25. Remember I told you 25, 50, 100, 250. 7 different schools in the conference offer introductory packages under $10 a month.
See, people can stomach that.
The Hogs' $25 base tier is tied for the highest in the SEC.
What's funny about that is totally the opposite of the Walmart model.
I mean, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But think about that. It is the highest. The starting point to be a part of the Arkansas Edge NIL collective is tied for the highest in the Southeastern Conference. But he wants to get up there and complain about people not
'Cause,
giving money and need to give money.
$10, $15, right? We all pay for that with what? Netflix, HBO, whatever, all these streaming services. You can stomach that, right? It's, oh, that's another subscription I'm going to forget about. But when you start getting, $25, like, that's a meal for some family. When you relate it to worldly things and things in day-to-day life.
I stomach it better when it's $7.99 a month, $5.99 a month, and then they could all collectively add up to $100. But it just, to me,
it feels better.
Yeah, it feels better.
And then if you're talking about a household income of $58,000 in the state of Arkansas,
is that before taxes or after?
Then how many of those people of that 58,000 you're asking them to give $1,200 to the collective? Then how much is that going to take away your tithing to your church?
It's a very good point.
Like all of a sudden you're now battling your local church
or your football team that you support. Yeah.
Yep. 800-239-WJOX. Our buddy B-Ham Dog wants to weigh in. Welcome in, B-Ham Dog.
Hey, thanks, guys. Hey, yeah, and that $58,000 household income, is that net or gross? Because if it's net, then they're probably bringing home about $37,000.
Yeah, we have text coming in, B-Ham Dog, and it's saying that $58,000 is before taxes that they report.
Yeah, so and look, I donate to the Classic City Collective. I couldn't do $100 a month. I wouldn't do $100
Do you mind me asking how much you pay per month for your collective?
I'm in the tier of 25. I think it's $25. I've been doing it since it's come out. I may have bumped it up to 35, but I can't remember. But yeah, it's $25 a month.
And for that $25, and I don't think that that's a lot of money, because I think that if there was something else,
for coffee every morning.
Correct. I mean, there are probably areas of your life where if push came to shove, you could not get that cup of coffee maybe every day a week, maybe only a couple times a week, and then that money goes to the collective. That's understandable.
Look, we talked yesterday. My wife and I had 5 boys, and we had 4 in college at one time. We had 4 at JSU at one time. So, yeah, I couldn't have done that $25 a month because I was keeping the lights on at JSU. But my point is,
God bless you.
We talked about this. Yeah, really. We talked about this yesterday. If you would put college and you put them in tiers, starving for a national championship, hungry for a national championship, hungry but maybe we have a shot, and unrealistic. And you have Alabama and Georgia, and I throw Michigan right now. They're not starving for a championship. They're hungry. But you got teams like Ohio State, and no offense to Molly, but I think Nebraska's starving with their rich history of starving for a championship.
Oregon.
Tennessee, Texas, Oregon. Those teams are starving for a championship, and there's your NIL winners. And then you got teams like Arkansas and Vandy and Kentucky. They're behind the curve because they're not realistically ever going to win a national championship in football. But if you break it down in those 4 categories of how hungry or starving your college football team is, that's the teams that are way ahead of the curve in NIL. Georgia's way behind in NIL. They really are.
Well, doesn't this go back to what Nick Saban said a couple of years ago when he had the comments about Jimbo Fisher, but he was talking about this is what's going to happen. You're going to have a wealthy donor that, pays to get a kid there or through whatever, hundreds of thousands of dollars. He's going to brag about it to his buddies. They're going to go into the stadium. The kid's not going to even see the field or not get enough targets, not going to do anything during the game. And that guy is burned. That guy will never donate that amount of money because he didn't get the return on his investment. Maybe we're starting to see that cyclical kind of nature that Saban, it was new. It was cool for a lot of these big money folks to say, yeah, I got that kid. But now that we're 3-4 years down the road, now it's okay. Well, we can't go back to this well. It's dry. Let's start hitting up the hardworking fans that fill our stadium.
Yeah, you can't put toothpaste back in the tube. At some point, there has to be a cap, and you base if you have regulations or if you have rules, but those regulations and rules have to start from where we are right now. It can't go backwards.
BM Dog, thank you, and we appreciate you hanging out with us yesterday.
Yeah, man, I loved it. Thanks.
800-239-WJOX, 205-834-9450 on the Jocks text line.
More of your calls, your texts. We will talk to Brian Edwards, Vegas Insider, coming up at 10:45. This is Jocks 94.5. It is 10:35, Jocks 94.5. Tons of texts coming in on the courtesy GMC text line. We welcome your text messages at 205-834-9450.
Well, as we head further into the football season, you know that means changes in the weather are coming, so you need to protect your HVAC system with a checkup from a trained comfort specialist. So when the cold weather hits, you'll have peace of mind that you're protected by America's most reliable and trusted HVAC brand. Find a comfort specialist near you at train.com. It's hard to stop a train.
Text line is open, 205-834-9450. A lot of your responses to Hunter Yurachek asking the Arkansas fans to donate at least $100 per month per household to try to keep up and at least try to be apples and apples with not even the top collectives in the Southeastern Conference. Ole Miss, 5,000 members. What is it, Rebel Grove?
5,000. Mm-hmm.
Arkansas, 1,000.
1,000.
Text rolling in. This one says, hard to give up that amount of money with this economy. I totally agree. Chris in Tuscaloosa says, I would donate to Sam Pittman, just not to Arkansas. I think he's such a good dude.
Just keep eating those Tyson chicken nuggets and part of it'll go there.
$100 a month, laughing, crying emojis times 5. To heck with college football. Already had to spend $74 a month just to watch college football on YouTube TV. I'm getting tired of NIL and the transfer portal. Posey asks, can we start Arkansas GoFundMe?
I think a lot of people would have a hard time based on the fact that Walmart is the largest company in the United States, probably employs more than
number
any
one retailer,
company.
I think, in the world.
Yeah. And then you have Tyson Food, one of the largest food conglomerates in the United States.
JB Hunt.
Yep.
Freight company.
Mm-hmm. So
Michael in Alabaster says, not all people that live in Arkansas are Arkansas fans. They have brains. Well, here's the thing, though. If you're going to do it, I could see potentially LSU doing this in the state of Louisiana, where you're the only game in town. Arkansas, who else do you have? You have Arkansas State, and I realize you have other programs there. Little Rock, Pine Bluff, Central Arkansas. But Arkansas that's the flagship.
Yes.
The nerve of these programs asking people to fund their rosters, they claim to be self-sustained programs, make a lot of money from various sources, already have to pay $40 just for a T-shirt, not to mention the exorbitant salaries of coaches and staff. They need to look within. Smart could coach for $5 million a season versus the $10 million if he's that concerned with a roster.
Well, and I think another factor for a lot of people is, all right, am I going to give $100 this month to my football program, or do I want to attend a game? And you're going to have to make that decision because it's probably in gas, food, tickets, whatever. $100 is probably on the cheap end, right? And so if you're already having to fork over, and we hear people talk about how crazy expensive it is to attend games now, are you really going to put an extra $100 on top of that? Or are you going to sacrifice taking your family to a game so you can contribute to the NIL?
And don't think that this is not going to come down to the high school level very soon, where there will be NIL collectives.
That's what they're doing in Georgia, right?
For high school football. And I will tell you, I would think that people from a local community would probably see quicker investment or return of their investment if they were to give to their local high school.
No doubt.
Than they would to give to Alabama, Auburn, or an Arkansas collective.
Well, and you're supporting your kids, right? Because a lot of these people, their kids are in the school and they want them to have a good experience, not some random recruit that you're never going to meet or interact.
Another text asking, I want to know how much money the millionaire coaches and ADs donate. It's a fair question. At least sign up for the minimum if you're Hunter Yurachek. I'm a member too. Do a commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Harbaugh that said that he thinks coaches should take like a significant chunk of their salaries and donate that into NIL last year? And he's in the NFL, so we didn't get to see him put his money where his mouth is.
Yeah,
but.
I think it was him. But once again, the cheapest for the Arkansas Edge NIL program is $25 a month, and then it goes to $50, $100 a month, and $250. So basically, Hunter Yurachek is asking for a household to be on the second highest tier of the Arkansas Edge NIL program. So he's not asking you to be, hey, just give $25. You know what IPTAY stands for, right? For Clemson. I'll pay $10 a year. That's what, I mean, IPTAY and Clemson was one of the first programs in America to ask their fans to give money, contribute to the athletic program. That's where IPTAY came from. I'll pay $10 a year. 10 a year.
What is the deal with Clemson and acronyms? You got the Roy, rest of y'all, IPTAY. This one rolling in. I donate $76.99 a month to Alabama through the Hulu initiative.
I was like, wait, what is $76.99 a month?
That's good.
Kyle says, love what Conrad said. I work for a prominent pediatric cancer hospital based here in Memphis, and our founding in the 60s, our founders said, quote, I would rather have 1 million people donate $1 than one person donate 1 million. Fostering the mentality has eventually led to us raising over $2.6 billion this past fiscal year. Kyle, thank you for listening on the Jocks 94.5 app.
Yeah, that's tremendous.
That's awesome.
But see, now you're also going to have programs like Tennessee, as they're going to pass the love on to you by increasing ticket sales like they did yesterday. 14% increase for next year, because a lot of that is going to be allocated to pay the players, the $22 million that they're budgeting right now out of the gate to pay these players.
And I don't know if y'all saw the same stuff I did, but even as good as Tennessee is right now, fans weren't happy about it. It wasn't well, we're really good right now, so yeah, let's donate. It was, oh, are you kidding me? Now we're going to have to pay even more?
Also coming, the announcement from the highest paid athletics director in the Southeastern Conference.
There we go.
So you're getting a lot of multimillionaires asking good old common folk, sidewalk alumni to give a lot of money where it's difficult to just go to the grocery store or buy gas. So, it's tough right now.
And going back to what you said, I thought it was a great point about the tithing. And I know at my house, at our house, we kind of have an understanding. If we add something, then we cut something. It's just the only way
to balance the budget. And
there's no way with certain things you can't do it. Energy costs from the power company, whether it's a gas company, your waterworks, whatever, you dealt with it. Property tax valuations. There's just some things you can't control. The cost of goods. Are you going to stop eating? No, that's not going to happen. Not going to eat Vienna sausage. Well, I mean, maybe some people will, but it's tough. It's a tough ask. Let's go to Robbie quickly. He wants to talk NIL. Robbie, welcome into Three Man Front.
Hey guys, how's it going? Man, a lot of great points this morning, and particularly the Hulu fund guy. I mean, I can relate to that. I can relate to that. I mean, that's absolutely hilarious, but true. When I first heard y'all talk about this, I mean, just my natural feelings of this was I'll be honest, I got a little angry. I thought, at least what I feel like the majority of fans are going to take from this, it's going to be somewhat of a negative, because, I mean, sports are entertainment, right? It's an escape from, the issues of life, things you're going through at home or at work, right? You want to be able to enjoy it. And to that guy's point, I mean, I'm paying that same price on Hulu so I can enjoy that. I mean, I don't want another bill, right? I mean, bills, like you just said earlier, Landrum, those are necessities, right? Your, like you said, your power bill, your rent, whatever, food. The last thing you want is another bill, right? So, and I think this is going to piss off a lot of other people, to be honest, and possibly somewhat turn them away from the program, which could be a negative long term, for these programs. So, of course, you want to see them do well, but man, at this extent is kind of alarming.
Well, and you're tugging on the emotions of people who already give all they can give to support your program, and you're basically telling them, if we suck at football, it's kind of your fault.
Yeah, that's terrible. Yeah, no, and that's a bunch of crap, because I feel like with that person, to your point, they're probably feeling that, and then in their brains they're thinking, well, you know what? Dang it, you're the institution. You're the ones that should be. I mean, y'all won before, and y'all didn't need me, and go out there and get a coach. Go out there and go recruit, right? Go do what you're supposed to do to win. And I don't know, man. This is a pretty interesting situation, but I just want to give my 2 cents.
Robbie, we always appreciate your 2 cents.
Thanks for the call. We will continue to have this conversation. At the top of the hour, we will talk to Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, about Alabama's big win against Wisconsin. They've got an off week coming up. But next, we're going to go down to Florida, talk to our good friend Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider, get some picks for this weekend. That's next on Three Man Front. We will talk to Brian Edwards, Vegas Insider, momentarily. I want to tell everybody about APS. And if your basement has not been properly waterproofed, you found out over the weekend why it needs to be checked out by APS. 205-974-6876. AlabamaProfessional.com. That is the website, because waterproofing the crawl space encapsulation, basement waterproofing, all very important if you're a homeowner like myself. The professional waterproofers there at APS can easily identify the cause of that wet basement, those musty odors, or mold problems, and can provide you with a high-quality waterproofing solution that will eliminate your problems today. They offer free estimates around Birmingham and most of central Alabama. Call them today, 205-974-6876, or go to their website, alabamaprofessional.com.
Our buddy Brian Edwards joining us, our Vegas Insider, and he joins us as all of our guests do on the Buyers Right Hotline. Happy Hump Day, Brian. How are you?
Doing great, guys. What's happening?
Checking in with you. First of all, how are you feeling about more news coming out about Billy Napier and the swell of lack of support, I guess, would be the way to phrase it? How soon before we see an interim head coach on the sidelines at Florida?
Well, the thing is there's nobody on his garbage staff who's deserving of that interim role. So I really don't know who the hell would take over, but I will mention that Ron Zook got beat by Sly Kroom in Starkville in 2004. The Gators do have an open date next week, which is kind of, if you're going to make a move, you make it, going into the open date. So we'll see, and we'll talk about that game here in a minute. I think Mississippi State, although they got absolutely blasted by a MAC team at home last week, I think they've got a really good chance to win this game.
All right, so let's start there. Mississippi State is a 6-point dog at home against your Florida Gators.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Mississippi State. As I just noted, they looked awful last week, but I will say one good thing about them. They're getting really good quarterback play out of the Baylor transfer, Blake Shapen, who's completed 70.1% of his passes for 834 yards, a 7-to-1 TDI-INT ratio, and he's got a really good transfer receiver in Kevin Coleman, who is going to be an all-SEC guy, probably on just his special teams work, but he's had great numbers as a receiver as well. And Napier, as a favorite at Florida, 3-8-1 against the spread. And if we go back to his last couple of years at Louisiana, his last 29 games in the favorite role, 9-19-1 against the spread. This team has already quit on him. We'll get an injury update on Eugene Trey Wilson, the Gators' best receiver and best playmaker, who missed last week's game, had a lower body injury at practice last Monday. I'm guessing he's questionable. But we've got guys like Wilson and other guys liking posts on social media talking about Napier getting fired. This team has already quit on him. And other than a Tebow year and Mullins win at Mississippi State, Starkville's been a house of horrors for Florida going back 3 or 4 decades. So give me Mississippi State. If you're number 6.5, I'd buy the half point to 7. But if it's just 6, all good. Just go Mississippi State plus 6.
Brian, let's stay there in the state of Florida. Another team that is struggling. They are winless on the season. The Florida State Seminoles. You got Justin Wilcox, the Cal Bears, undefeated on the season, traveling to Doak, 6 o'clock kickoff. Who do you like in this one?
I like Cal. Justin Wilcox has always been fantastic as not only an underdog, but a road underdog at Cal, 18-9 against the spread in 45 total games as a dog. 30-15 ATS. As a home favorite under Mike Norvell, FSU only 8-13 against the spread. This team has not shown a pulse all year. In the 6 games since Jordan Travis got hurt last year, FSU has failed to get 300 yards of total offense in all 3 of those games. And Cal stud running back Jaden Ott missed last week's game. He's going to be back, but the backup is Javian Thomas is playing fantastic, averaging 7.8 yards per carry, and their quarterback Mendoza, 5-to-1 TDI-INT ratio, 70.1 completion percentage. Cal wins outright at FSU.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right, so let's stay in the ACC. Georgia Tech, they got out to that great start over in Dublin. They have lost a game, but they're a 10.5-point dog at Louisville in ACC play.
Yeah, Haynes King was kind of a turnover machine at A&M his first couple of years as a young quarterback. And then he led the ACC in interceptions last year. But he did a lot of good things. He got them their first bowl game since 2018, first bowl win since 2016. But he's playing like an All-American right now through 4 games, 76.4 completion percentage, 962 passing yards, 6-to-1 TDI and T ratio, also 158 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, 6.3 yards per carry average. But more than anything, Brent Key has thrived in underdog roles since he took over. 13-3 against the spread with 10 outright wins and 16 games as an underdog. 7-3 ATS, 6 outright wins, 10 games as a road dog, and as a double-digit dog, 7-3 against the spread, 5 outright wins. Let's go with Georgia Tech 10.5.
Brian, another game in the ACC, or excuse me, out of the American Conference. You've got Tulane right now, a 3-point favorite. They're at Louisiana. Who do you like in this one?
I like the Green Wave. They've played the heavy hitters the last 2 weeks, led K-State by 10 at home at halftime, was up by 7 with 12 minutes left. K-State tied it 27-27. Tulane was driving in K-State territory. K-State got a big sack, a fumble, a scoop and score, and that's why they won 34-27. And then last week at Oklahoma, they're only down 24-19 with 7 minutes remaining. End up losing 34-19, but now it's back to playing fellow group of 5 opponents. Tulane -3 at Louisiana.
All right, so it's never too early to look at next week. You got Alabama hosting Georgia. I see where that point spread continues to go south. It is currently, I believe, +2.5 Alabama. So there's still an underdog at home, but that Georgia line has come down. Is it, in your opinion, is it too early to fire something in on that game, or are you going to kind of let this percolate a little bit before you fire something for next week?
Well, I don't have a FanDuel account. If I did, I would have fired on Bama +4 last week. Georgia's still Alabama's bitch. Alabama's won 8 of 9 over them. They haven't won at Bryant-Denny since Stafford threw that overtime touchdown pass back in 2007. I want Bama to win outright, but I hate that we're getting the line value sucked out of it. I knew that was going to happen in the second half of the Kentucky game because I was really wanting Bama +3 or better, but I still think they win outright. So, yeah, I like Bama.
All right. A little early tease for next week. Hey, Brian, we always appreciate it, man. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys. Y'all have a good weekend.
Appreciate it. That is Brian Edwards joining us.
He didn't just kind of like it. He added that at the end. That was emphatic, Brian.
No, that was, yeah. Even got a smile out of Conrad.
So
Conrad liked that one.
If that holds true, would Kalen DeBoer be Kirby's stepdaddy?
Now we'd see the memes of Kirby being held by Kalen DeBoer.
Oh, yeah, like a baby. Oh, yeah. I'm here for it.
All of our guests join us on the Buyers Right Hotline for all of your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner. Chris Stewart, voice of the Tide, talks Madison, looks ahead to Georgia next. 3-man front, the Hump Day edition, Jocks 94.5.
Welcome back in. It's hour number 2 of Three-Man Front. Pat Smith, Landrum Roberts, Conrad Van Order, Molly Robinson, Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. He is going to join us momentarily, brought to you by Craneworks. Get his thoughts on Alabama's impressive win at Wake Forest, Wisconsin. Sorry, I was reading a story about Wake Forest's AD.
Ole Miss always on the mind for Pat Smith.
No, I was reading a story about John Curry. He's actually come out and he's refuting the things that Lane Kiffin has said about Wake Forest. So.
But they beat Wisconsin as bad as Ole Miss beat Wake Forest.
You're right.
34 and 32, respectively.
Well, the Pants Store, they have a huge selection of all things game day clothing, shoes, and accessories, from rompers and sets to boots to clear bags. They will definitely have you covered. And don't forget to get a game day outfit for your husband or for your boyfriend. The Pants Store, they have a game day outfit for the entire family. So shop online at pantsstore.com or in-store at one of their 6 locations in Alabama.
Each week we get a chance to talk to Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, brought to you by Craneworks.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, Rentalworks, yeah! The big dog's got it.
Crimson Tide Network's Chris Stewart on Three-Man Front is brought to you by Craneworks. Lift it, buy it, rent it. The big dog's got it. And now, Chris Stewart.
And Chris joins us, as all of our guests do, on the Buyers Right Hotline. Happy Wednesday, Chris. Hope everything went swimmingly there in Madison, Wisconsin. We know the outcome of the game, but how was your visit?
Man, the trip was fantastic. The people were great. They were really hospitable. Of course, it helps when you put them away and the stadium empties at the start of the fourth quarter after they do their iconic. And it was pretty cool, the jump around deal, but it was better when they cleared out. But also, and forgive the noise, I am getting gas here on my way to Tuscaloosa. But it was a awesome experience. Got to make my first and probably only trip ever to Lambeau Field on Sunday, and all of that was everything you expect it to be. So yeah, it was an awesome 4 days, I guess.
I want to ask you, in regards to Camp Randall, is there an SEC venue that reminded you of Camp Randall?
Oh, man. That's a tough one. It's a good question, but it's a tough one. The stadium's older. It's not as modern as a lot of ours since they've been upgraded, but it's very nice. And, 75, 76,000, whatever the capacity is for that, was pretty cool. I'm going to say a more modern Missouri.
Okay.
Because Missouri's one that's an old stadium. They haven't done a lot for it. They just, I don't know. It's not anything overwhelming, but it's not a dump. I've been places that are, and thankfully that was not the case. This is a nice stadium. It really looks really good aesthetically. I'm just trying to maybe smaller, and this is going to sound like a criticism for Alabama fans that hear me or any non-Tennessee fan. I think it's a 25,000 seat less, nicer Tennessee, maybe.
It's so interesting. That? Yeah, it's so interesting that you said that, and because we had this conversation off the air yesterday. I had a friend of mine that actually went to the game in Madison, and the way that they described it to me was like Neyland Stadium, because the way the seats were, that they were smaller, and obviously where they were sitting reminded them of like the upper deck of Neyland Stadium. How steep it is, and the seats are a little bit more thin. So he kind of basically said the same thing, that it reminded him of a much smaller Neyland Stadium.
I will say this. Again, this is going to come across as the Bama guy bashing Tennessee, and that's fine. It's what Tennessee's stadium probably should be. And I don't mean in terms of the size,
right?
But I mean in terms of kind of the feel.
I got you.
Tennessee's is a lot better than it was. Tennessee's is a lot better than it used to be. But I just think this is I liked their venue better. And again, I'm probably jaded by the fact that we won 42-10.
Chris Stewart, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, joining us courtesy of Craneworks and joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline. I know it's early in the season, but it's fair that we have the conversation now, Chris. The expectations for Ryan Williams, but what he's been able to do through 3 games, 10 catches, almost 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. It almost seems like even if you know it's coming, he is a guy that can't be defended. Your thoughts on what he has done, and has he exceeded your expectations?
Yeah, I think so. But at the same time, I think he'd probably be the first to tell you that one of the reasons he is as lethal as he is right now for opposing defenses is because he's not the only option. You put Ryan Williams on a team that he's the only focal point or the main focal point or one of the very few options offensively, I don't know that he's as effective. He's still the same talent, but he's probably not as effective. You know, if you decide to double or key on Ryan Williams, you know, you pick your poison between the running back options, the tight ends that are part of the offense now, but also the several wideouts that are really, really good. I think he reminds me a little bit, I forgot where I used this analogy the other day, but I've seen basketball teams that had, back when you used to have, you know, kids that stayed in a program a while, and you'd see 4th and 5th year seniors, and the 5th starter is maybe a freshman or a sophomore that's just ultra talented, that doesn't have to do anything but go be talented. You know, he doesn't have to worry about the leadership stuff. He doesn't have to worry about being the main target. He can just go play. And, man, it makes it really tough for a defense to key on him. And I think in Ryan Williams' case, he's already great, but what helps him to be as much of a weapon as he is that there are other guys that are options available to go after at your opposing defenses against Alabama.
As you watch that game unfold, a lot of question marks about Caden Proctor, about his health, about Pritchett's health. But as you got through that football game and you're able to see what that offensive line can do when all 5 of those players are on the field at the same time, it has to make Alabama fans and even the broadcaster look really, really high upon the higher part of this season, the potential ceiling in regards to the success of this offense when you have those 5 guys on the field.
Yeah, there's no doubt. This is a 3-week stretch that we've just come off of that will be the least challenging 3-week stretch that we're going to have probably at any other point in the year. That doesn't mean the teams you've played are bad. It's not intended to be disrespectful, but you're going to have better teams the rest of the way. And it's going to, you know, I know there's Mercer in the mix, but everything else is a league game. And it's going to be really, really tough, and you've got to improve on what we've seen. That being said, we got a little taste, I believe, on Saturday of what the offensive line can look like. What were they voted the Outland line of the week or whatever the award is? They were
the
all
whole
on the
line.
watch list based on what they did. So, and not only did you have a freshman at second-year freshman at right tackle. Not only did you have a guard or a center, backup center playing somewhat out of position, playing left guard, you had a backup or a starting, let me clarify, an all-conference guard who was playing tackle for the first time. So you had really 3 guys out of position in that ball game against South Florida, where there were a ton of penalties and mistakes and things of that nature. But it's the type of growing pain you go through that's going to probably help you somewhere down the road.
Chris, on the defensive side of the ball, realized that Van Dyke, he got knocked out of the game. He's been lost for the season with a torn ACL. You had a backup quarterback in there. But if you were going to compare, and I realize schematically they're much different, but you compare Wisconsin offense to what you saw at Bryant-Denny with Alex Golish in that South Florida offense, what would you say presented, and I know what the score says, but how much, I guess, are you able to take away from the performance there against that Wisconsin offense versus the defense and what we saw versus the South Florida Bulls?
I'm not blaming all of their look. They moved the football against us a little bit, but just thankfully only scored the 10 points. But I think if you put Alex Golesh on that Wisconsin roster, they're challenging Bama's defense more than Wisconsin could with their backup. And again, I didn't think he was terrible, but the receivers. My point being, the running backs and receivers I thought were better for Wisconsin than what South Florida had. So it would have been I think a little different look. Yeah, they would have been better, but I still think Alabama wins that game comfortably Saturday, even if Van Dyke is the quarterback.
In regards to Georgia, not sure if you got to see any of their game against Kentucky, but just want to get your early thoughts on just a monumental game for both programs next weekend at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Yeah, it's huge, obviously. It's the next of several big games that'll take place. The reality is you've got, I think, 6 more ranked teams still left on the schedule for Alabama after Georgia. It's the SEC. It's tough. But what I saw with Kentucky is pretty much what I anticipated. Kentucky would play far better than they did against South Carolina because they were probably looking ahead to Georgia a little bit. Georgia's probably looking ahead to Alabama 2 weeks away and didn't take Kentucky as seriously as they should have. The players maybe the whole time with their focus, but Kentucky's not bad. Kentucky's what I think Kentucky's going to be in their best spot. They'll be dangerous, and then but they're far from what you'd consider a front runner or a real contender in the division. You know, they're going to be one of those that battles for the upper part of the middle of the pack in their best year. So I actually told, it's kind of weird. I don't get many things like this right, but for whatever reason, we're taping the Kalen DeVore show on the field after the ball game Saturday, and we're doing the segment that we talk about what is next for Alabama, and we got through with that and finished the show. And I said, I got a weird feeling Kentucky's going to give Georgia all they want, may even win that thing. And he goes, really? I said, I don't know squat, coach, but I just got a feeling that they'll play really well and Georgia won't. And Georgia did enough to win, and it was pretty gutty, but I think the game Saturday, a week from this coming Saturday, will be another really good Georgia-Alabama game. But I also still feel like, as has been the case in all but one matchup with the Bulldogs in the last several years, it'll be Alabama, barring mistakes, will come out as a winner.
And I realize what Georgia was able to do in the first week of the season, in the second half primarily against Clemson. But no McConkey, no Brock Bowers, there's no George Pickens lining up for the Dogs. Right. It just doesn't seem, fair or unfair, doesn't seem like that offense has as many weapons at its disposal as it's had in the past. Is that fair?
Yeah, it is. And here's the thing. Bama's going to score. Alabama's going to get their points. And let's say you hold the Tide below their season average and you only give up 35. Alabama's defense is much better than people anticipated coming into the year. And you better be able to score points if you're going to beat Alabama. And I don't know that Georgia is capable of doing that against a defense that's pretty salty, and while they may give up some yardage, they're not giving up a ton of points. And I'm excited to see. We're going to know exactly who Alabama is after. You need to go ahead and book your reservation for Atlanta if they win. You go, well, there goes the season if you don't. But if you're able to play well, get a victory against that Georgia team, then I will be very surprised if Alabama's not ranked among the top 2 teams in the country when we get to that. We see that next poll come out.
Well said. He's Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Off week this week. It's never really an off week. Know that you have responsibilities in the big game coming up next weekend inside of Bryant-Denny Stadium versus the Georgia Bulldogs. Chris, your visits are always made possible by our good friends at Craneworks.
Yep, you're right. It is busy. I've got a bunch of stuff the next couple of days, and I get to just go be a dad and take my son to Selma, where he's going to play in a golf tournament this weekend. But if I wasn't, I'd probably be at home cleaning the garage out, which I need to do, which means I'd be calling them about Wasteworks. It's Craneworks company that provides roll-off dumpster rentals in the Birmingham area. They got a range of sizes, fast service. They are your local source for dumpster rentals. Visit wasteworksusa.com to get a quote and learn more information online.
Enjoyed the visit as always, Chris. Thank you, and we'll talk to you next week.
You got it, guys. Take care.
Chris Stewart, courtesy of Craneworks, joining us on the Buyer's Right hotline for all of your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyer's Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner.
So do something about that tree before it falls on your house. Call Golston Tree Service today at 205-337-4018. Operated by a certified arborist, Golston Tree Service handles little jobs like trimming hedges or shaping trees, hazardous jobs like line clearance, and big jobs like complete tree removals with cranes, grinding the stump and roots out of hauling off just that last twig. They can do it all. They're at Golston Tree Service. Complete removal. Bucket trucks make it easy for them. They also offer spikeless climbing, makes it easy on your trees like you. They care about what your tree looks like when they're done. Call them today for a free estimate. They also offer 24-hour emergency storm work. That number again is 205-337-4018. That is Golston Tree Service.
Lots of reaction coming in from you on the Jocks text line about Arkansas Athletic Director Hunter Yurachek asking the hardworking fans in the state of Arkansas to donate $100 per month to their collective. We'll get to those texts. Tye Richardson from the state of Arkansas coming up at noon. It's a Wednesday edition of 3-Man Front and Jocks 94.5.
Great conversation with Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. If you missed that interview, or if you missed Brian Edwards giving us his picks this week, you can always download the 3-Man Front podcast wherever you get your podcasts and take us along with you. Download the Jocks 94.5 app, and on that app, you can listen to the show and you can also watch the show. It's simply by hitting the streaming button on the Jocks 94.5 app.
Well, Big Whiskey's is your place for great food, plus an outstanding bar experience with a full menu ranging from apps, salads, burgers to steaks, and over 100 whiskeys with whiskey on flights available. Their outdoor patio and green space with games is great for families, and the kids eat free every Tuesday. They offer a late happy hour, and the kitchen is open for late night dining in the Stadium Trace Village off 459 at Highway 150 near the Hoover Met.
Jock's text line is open 205-834-9450. Heath texts into the show and asked, does Eli Gold still broadcast home games? Well, for Jacksonville State, he does.
Yes.
Go Gamecocks. Drake says, guys, love the show as always, but I hear Brian Edwards correctly that the team has quit on Billy. If so, he will be fired Saturday night. Just one man's opinion, but I think he did say that.
I think if Florida loses on Saturday, that we'll probably hear something pretty quickly after that.
Yeah. I mean, they're a 6-point favorite on the road against Mississippi State, which, as Brian pointed out, and I'll never forget when Ron Zook got fired.
Been a house of horrors for Florida.
I mean, for Scott Field has been horrible for them throughout the history of Florida football.
Michael texts in and says they should have an infomercial with "In the Arms of a Stranger," or is it an angel?
Yeah, the Sarah McLachlan one with the animals.
Yeah. Playing in the background, Hunter Yurachek narrating for $100 a month. That's just $3.33 a day. You can help us get that 3-star, and we could possibly win 7 games.
Like Hunter Yurachek's like crying during the spot.
I just can't get over "In the Arms of a Stranger." It's I think the song has a much different tone to it than
Take Johnny here. Grew up an Arkansas fan. But he has other lucrative offers from other SEC schools for just $3.33 a day.
Okay, here's the deal.
Give you a picture you can put on your refrigerator.
Sponsor a player.
They do an awesome job over at SEC Shorts, but we're giving you some free content right here. Like your next SEC Shorts should be Hunter Yurachek standing up there doing the Sarah McLachlan takeoff of the commercial.
That'd be great.
That's great stuff. Thank you, Michael. Mike in Shreveport, listening on the app, says players who quit don't quit on coaches. They quit on themselves due to low character. Okay.
Well, here's the thing. Film does not lie. So if you go out and you half-ass it, then what are you telling the next team that you potentially want to go play for?
Yep. No, it's how many times have we heard it from NFL scouts? He got a bad grade. The motor doesn't always run. They're going to find it. They're going to pick it apart. That's something I appreciate about Trent Dilfer. He can say it from the NFL perspective, and he'll tell those guys. There were times last year where down big at the half, and telling guys not only play for yourselves, but play for whatever you're going to put on tape. If you're here next year or you're somewhere else, it's only going to benefit you to go out there and give 100% every play. Bobby texts in and says, how about instead of these ADs asking fans for more money, they go out, work harder to get a salary cap or cooperate, or corporate sponsors, I guess is what he's trying to say, for these NIL funds. Us fans already contribute enough given the prices of tickets and TV subscription cost. Yeah, the salary cap and the corporate sponsor, well, the corporate sponsor, yes. Now, I was out there and you did have the Walmart logo and the Tyson logo proudly displayed there on the field in Razorback Stadium.
Well, and I think that's what makes that conversation interesting, right? Because we talked about it, I guess, a couple weeks or months ago when this first started coming out, and we were talking about Alabama and Auburn, right? Do you want that on the field at Bryant-Denny or at Nick Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium or at Jordan-Hare? A lot of people, no. Okay, well, would you rather have a logo on your field when you're watching on TV, or would you rather open up your pocketbook and be the one that makes up that money? I think a lot of people would say, yeah, put the logos on the field. I don't care anymore.
Austin texts in and says, do the merchandise like Yay Alabama does? I buy Bama merchandise that supports athletes. They're good quality too. They got the Yay Alabama vodka. Wisconsin and Vandy have their own beer. that goes to the collective.
There are creative ways you can, I guess, entice people to spend money. Yeah.
This one on the other side. What's wrong with asking? Sales professionals ask every day, and people are free to say no.
I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt to ask. The worst thing people can say is no, and some people are going to say yes, but
here's the problem I have with it. It's called reading the room. It's called understanding your P1s, the people that you are expecting to be in your stadium, buying season tickets, buying jerseys, buying souvenirs that have your logo on them. And you standing up there and basically, Molly, what was the numbers again in the state of Arkansas? What is the household income average?
I believe it was 58,000.
58,000.
Mm-hmm.
And from a poverty standpoint, Arkansas ranks where?
7th.
7th.
Mm-hmm.
And you're asking for a household to donate $1,200 to an NIL collective. That is a tough sell.
BB says, I reiterate my comment from yesterday. NIL will kill football. James asking, do former players donate to the initiative? I'm sure some do.
Yeah.
Some do, yeah.
And some donate not only to the initiative, what sports specific, new weight room, new locker room.
I don't want to put you on the spot. I'm not asking you to give me any details. But if you lived in the state of Arkansas and you're an Arkansas football fan, based on your current financial situation in your household, would you, knowing that you love college football, and let's say you love Arkansas as much as you like Alabama, would you be willing to find a way, you and Paige, to give $1,200 to the Hog NIL?
Personally, I don't think I'd be willing to contribute that much money with, just the financial circumstances that we all live in right now. And we're not millionaires because we're on the radio. So yeah, I don't think that I would be comfortable doing it. Now, could we? Yes, we could move things around. We could make it happen. It's
about your comfort level, and you're being honest, and you're saying that you would not feel comfortable
doing
yeah.
that. No.
Well, this sounds bad. Everybody's situation is different. But for me, I'm just very selective on what I'm going to give $100 to a month. And
regardless of if it's football or anything else. Yeah.
Right. If this was the Atlanta Braves for some reason and they were asking me to donate to their collective, which we need it, I wouldn't give $100 a month.
Would you give to Nebraska $100 a month?
Right now? No.
Yeah.
We know your answer.
Your current situation.
Right. No way.
Yeah.
Hotty toddy, we know your answer.
Dang right.
Do they just automatically debit it from your account, or do you have to stroke the check with your
It is routed through
expensive PIN?
It's routed through an investment fund out of Canada that then is circumvented through Costa Rica.
I thought it was the Caymans.
It's Costa Rica. I changed that. I flipped it over. So I really don't see it.
We were reminded that this is how capitalism works. The cost gets passed on to the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We understand how that works. It's just, once again, you're asking one of the poorest states in the union for their folks to step up and to give a lot of money. But they paid their athletic director a lot of money. They paid their basketball coach a lot of money.
And that basketball team and that roster that he assembled, I'm guessing that they paid a pretty good penny to get those guys in a short amount of time.
We will continue with your texts. We will open up the phone lines at 1-800-239-WJOX. Tye Richardson will join us at the top of the hour from the state of Arkansas, get his thoughts on the Hunter Yurachek audio that we played for you earlier. That's all on this Wednesday edition of Three Man Front.
11:33. Here on Three Man Front. Jocks 94.5, Landrum, Pat, Molly, Ralph Miller behind the glass, a.k.a. Conrad Van Order.
Can you spare a dime?
I like it.
Oh, are you going to go into your transatlantic accent?
Oh, good old ticker tape parade. That's what we need. Well, if you have not experienced the new Rambler's Sports Bar and Grill at the Finnick, you got to go check it out. Rambler's jumbo screens and amazing sound provide the best sports viewing experience in town. The food and drinks are exceptional, too. You want to watch it? They're going to have it, including NFL Sunday Ticket in the Red Zone. Check out Rambler's Sports Bar and Grill. They're at the Finnick, open today, Wednesday lunch through Sunday Night Football. You want to watch Auburn and Arkansas? They're going to have it on the big video screen there on Saturday. Unbelievable sound, and you can actually hear the game. It's being broadcast there inside of Ramblers. Ramblers Sports Bar and Grill, right there at the Finnick, 1630 2nd Avenue South.
All right, so after the Wake Forest Ole Miss game over the weekend, Lane Kiffin had this to say, a pointed criticism towards Wake Forest.
Thought our guys came motivated, good energy early on. We talked to them during the week about this, last time they get to play these guys during the week, called over, and John Curry said we're not playing next year and bought out of the game. So I thought that was a good message for our players, that somebody willing to pay money not to play them. Says a lot of where our program is right now.
So he takes a shot at the athletics director at Wake Forest, because Wake Forest literally called them last week and said there was supposed to be a home and away series with Wake and Ole Miss. The first game of the series, Ole Miss goes to Winston-Salem. And so early part of last week, John Curry calls Ole Miss and says, there will not be a return trip by us to Oxford. We are bowing out. We are not playing the Rebels in Oxford. So that motivated Lane Kiffin's comments that you just heard. Well, this morning, this was all done. It's pretty interesting how all this timed out. So this morning, John Curry, who is the athletics director at Wake Forest, he released a statement saying, we are committed to making decisions that best serve our program and our student athletes, and that includes bringing national games to Winston-Salem. We have a high degree of respect for Ole Miss and their fans, and we congratulate them on their victory last weekend in sold-out Allegacy Stadium. But given the ongoing financial pressures of the new area of college athletics and our priority on continuing to grow resources to benefit our student athletes, it was the right business decision to secure this 2-game home-and-home series with Oregon State. They have dropped Ole Miss for Oregon State. Why? Because Oregon State needs opponents. Oregon State will travel anywhere, anytime to play a football game. So you chickened out of your game with Ole Miss to add Oregon State, and now they're talking about the financial pressures. Well, guess what? The financial pressures of college athletics was the same when you signed the deal to play Ole Miss. Nothing has changed there. But instead, you allowed Ole Miss to spend the money to come to Winston-Salem, but now you're checking out of an opportunity to come back and get beat again by Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss.
And now, and we've talked to college coaches, whether it's basketball, any sport, especially college football, you have a limited number of games. It's really hard to find opponents. So do you think Ole Miss is going to be able to just reach out? And yes, there are group of 5 or group of 4, whatever we're calling them these days, non-Power 4 programs that would be willing to do it, but a lot of those schedules are already set.
And plus, are you going to pay $1.2 million for Toledo to come play you? No, because you just saw what Toledo did. That was my point, is you reach down into the group of 5 and try to grab somebody to play. Then Ole Miss has got to turn around and pay that opponent a certain amount of money to come play them. So,
I don't know why Lane's worried about it, though. He's going to be in Gainesville.
Yeah, it's no big deal. 1-800-239-WJOX. Back to the phones we go here on Three Man Front.
Let's go to Kenny. He's in Trussville. Hey, Kenny.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing, man?
Doing well. How are you?
Fine. We went up to the Wisconsin game, had a great time. The fans were fantastic. The ones that I met, anyway, were fantastic. The stadium, Chris Stewart is exactly right. That was Tennessee. If you don't want to be touched, don't go to a Missouri game, because the seats are exactly Tennessee. There was a lady that had season ticket that sat next to us, and she said, if you come to a Missouri game, sit big and push them left. So that's how tight it was. If you don't want to be touched on your left or behind you or almost sitting between someone's leg, don't go to a Missouri game. But the stadium, like I said, the fans were fantastic.
All right, so the Wisconsin fans, I know obviously they outnumbered the Alabama fans, but how many Bama fans, percentage-wise, in the stadium?
You know, Pat, because they wear red, it was hard to tell. You could other than where the Alabama band was, Alabama may have taken maybe 50 or so band members.
Right.
Other than if you could look over there and tell Alabama was sitting there, you really could tell because Missouri is red and Alabama crimson or whatever, or if you were wearing white for Alabama, you couldn't tell what Alabama. But there were a lot of Alabama fans because when we landed in Milwaukee, because it was cheaper to fly in Milwaukee than it was Madison, the lady said, she said, y'all Alabama fans are taking over Wisconsin. So it was great down there. There were a lot of Alabama fans there because the area we were sitting in, we sat on the Missouri side, which I would recommend if you go to an 11 o'clock game, because if you sit on the opposing team side, the sun is going to burn you to death. So I would sit on the Missouri side.
No, you mean the Wisconsin side?
Wisconsin side, yeah. Right. And if you go there, I would park in lot 60. They got buses that'll take you straight to the stadium, $5.
Oh, wow.
You ain't got to deal with that. Yeah, only $5, lot 60. They don't know how to tailgate. They will be blown away when they come to Tuscaloosa next year.
No, wait a second. You said they don't do tailgates at all?
Really?
They do tailgate. They tailgate. They just don't know how.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, you can see a big difference. If you can see a huge difference between their tailgating and if you've been to SEC games, you'll see a huge difference. But like I said, the fans were great. The only thing was the lady told me, she said, we knew we were going to lose the game, but it kind of reminded me of, we know we're going to lose, don't rub it in our faces. And I think that would have been the only problem. If which I'm sure some Alabama fans did that. But, they were saying, we know we're going to lose, don't rub it in our faces. Jump around was great. The lady even told me for the game started, she said the students don't usually get there until about the end of the first quarter. And she said this is the first time that they had been to a game where the students were there right before the game started. And she said they'll leave after jump around. And she says jump around, which was fantastic. But she says if they're winning a big game, if it's a blowout on their side, if they're losing, the students leave as soon as jump around. And if they had a coach, if they could win at that school, that student section could cause some big problems because there are about 25,000 of them in the end zone, and it was loud.
Was it?
So if they could ever start winning going into their student sections, I don't think there would be a lot of student section in the country. It was amazing. They marched them in there.
So did you do jump around yourself, you and your wife?
Oh yeah. You can't help it doing that. The Alabama football team was doing jump around. It was amazing, man. I mean, I enjoyed it. The entire stadium. I'm thinking about 80,000. Other than those people up there in those, those luxury boxes. Which the lady told me, she said you can get 4 seats in the luxury boxes for $100,000. And it's 20 seats in there. So I guess that's how they maintain it at stadium.
Wow.
Because, like I say, it's an old. That's exactly what it reminds you of, an old Tennessee.
Yeah. But overall, it was A+ experience. You guys had a great time.
Yeah, we had a blast. Like I said, we flew into Milwaukee because they said it was more expensive to fly into Madison because of the small airport. Now you can fly into Chicago and drive 2 hours. So, but like I said, I had a blast, and we really enjoyed it. Like I said, the fans were super nice.
All right, so I know you and your wife, you guys have traveled the country watching the Alabama Crimson Tide. What else is on the docket for you guys this season?
We're gonna try to do Oklahoma.
Okay.
I've never been to Vandy. We're gonna go up there just to go. We've never done that. We decided we'd start doing some road games, but we might go to Vandy. But we're gonna try to work out going to. I want to go to Oklahoma.
Conrad will be there.
Yeah, if you end up, I will hook you up. You and Conrad get an opportunity. You can hang out with Conrad.
Make him behave, Kenny.
Okay.
That's worth the trip right there, getting to hang out with me.
I will.
That's right.
It's better than the game.
Yes, sir, Conrad.
Hey, Kenneth.
Let me ask you something real quick.
Yeah.
I talk with a lot of Alabama fans. Why was Milroe running the ball so much?
Why is he running the ball so much?
Why in that game? Why did he run so much? Because I watched that game in the first series. I said if Nick Saban was coaching this team, Alabama would run for 300 yards. You could tell the offensive line was blowing them off the ball. And we just assumed that you were going to see Jam and Justice Hunter probably put up 100 apiece or more. But we were surprised at the amount of running that Milroe was doing.
You mean, so why is Milroe running the ball more as opposed to handing it off to Jam or Justice?
Right. Yeah, because Justice only got 2 carries in that whole game. And they were blowing some amazing holes.
Yeah, I mean, I think DeBoer and that staff, they just want to put the ball in Jalen's hands. I mean, he's one of the best players in the country, and that was, I think, a part of his game that was maybe underutilized at times last year. Right. So I think it's just, hey, if it's there, take it. So, look, I'm right there with you. I think they could run the ball more with the running backs as well, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I think they could also attack the middle of the field, which we were surprised, too, because that tight end, I mean, we looked at him running up and down the middle of the field. I'm like, when's he going to throw him the ball? So
yeah, and watching some of Cole Kubelik has tweeted out a bunch of videos of the end zone views of how dominating the Alabama offensive line was, and it was really, really impressive. And who knows, maybe they were just trying to make Kirby Smart think of, okay, Jalen Milroe is going to run the ball a lot more against us next Saturday. So I don't know, maybe that's why he was putting on tape.
Yeah, I hope that was the case because I can't imagine him with what Alabama's got coming up. I can't imagine him running that much. I mean, I agree with the running, but him running that much against SEC football team, this guy will be beat up by the end of the season.
Kenny, always a pleasure, man. Thanks for the call.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. Enjoy the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. 1-800-239-WJOX.
I totally agree, though, putting it on tape because of Jalen Milroe maybe more of a propensity to run this year than he has the last 2 seasons, and it's something that it's really hard to game plan for. Whether it's going to be a spy, it's going to take someone away if they know, and they know that Jalen Milroe has the ability to run, but wasn't that a knock on Jalen Milroe at one point in his career?
Was that he didn't run the ball?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because it was he would hold the ball and try to throw it down the field like last year because it kind of felt like that's what he was encouraged to do. So, yeah, I don't think it's a – look, you're winning football games. The offense is pretty efficient right now. I'm not, again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Ever thought about what you do if a cyber attack, a database loss, or connectivity issue hit your business? You need responsive, proactive, fast, reliable IT solutions to help your business grow and to stay safe from those cyber attacks. Evolve IT. They can handle all of your IT and protect your business systems with the most advanced cybersecurity tactics. Book an IT inspection today. That's a $3,000 value, absolutely free. Learn more at evolv.us. That's Evolve IT.
Coming up at the top of the hour, we'll go to the state of Arkansas. We'll find out what's going on with this NIL kerfuffle going on with the Razorbacks and their athletic director. That's all straight ahead on this Wednesday edition of 3-Man Front. 11:49, Jocks 94.5 on this Wednesday. Tye Richardson, ESPN Radio in Arkansas, will join us at the top of the hour. Also next hour, we'll talk to Jonathan Nelson. Bad news coming out of Tennessee as the Tennessee Smokies beat the Barons last night. It's the best of 3 for the Southern League Championship. The home game tonight there at Regions Field as the Barons will take on the Smokies.
Well, fall is approaching, but we still have warm temperatures here in the Deep South. That means stinging insects, some of those barbecue party crashers. Well, you can take care of that today. Our friends at Stark Exterminators, they've been family-owned for over 60 years. 100% of your satisfaction as a customer is guaranteed, whether you're a homeowner, a business owner, or both. You can call Stark today, 855-STARK-NOW, or visit starkexterminators.com. One of their professional team members will come to your home or your place of business, address any current issues that you had, like over 3 years ago when we called them to our house and we had ants coming through the bathroom. We had never had that problem before. They took care of it immediately, but also the thorough inspection inside but outside and any potential problems that could arise down the road. It is Stark Exterminators, 855-STARK-NOW, or visit starkexterminators.com. And when you talk to them, tell them Landrum from Jocks 94.5 sent you.
So a major topic of discussion that we've had that we will continue next hour with our guest, Tye Richardson, is Hunter Yurachek, who is the athletics director at the University of Arkansas, when speaking to the Little Rock Touchdown Club on Monday, discussed how NIL now is not what it was originally planned to be. He kind of discussed where Arkansas currently is, named some SEC schools that are well ahead of Arkansas. Take a listen to Hunter Yurachek.
And now we've finally gotten their footing at the University of Arkansas in the NIL world, but we're not where we need to be. I will tell you, the upper echelon of the SEC in football is probably spending double of what we're spending on our football program right now in the NIL space. That's reality. So, I mean, you can blame that on Sam Pittman, but it's not Sam Pittman's problem. It's his problem, but it's a money problem, right? Because if someone's spending double of what we're spending, they're going to have a corner on the market.
So that's Hunter Yurachek, his first part of this speech discussing NIL. Here's the next portion in which he lays out how much Ole Miss is ahead of Arkansas.
Ole Miss has about 5,000 members in their football collective. 5,000. We have about 1,000 in our football collective right now. They have 5,000 members. We have 1,000. If we're going to catch up, like I'm going to make it so easy for you. If we could get 10,000 households across the state of Arkansas to give $100 a month, 10,000 households to give $100 a month all year long, we would be in the NIL game from a football perspective. It's that simple. But we can't say the Tysons, the Waltons, the Stevens, the Hunts, hey, they'll take care of it. Because they're not. They're not. They are so incredibly generous, and they have done so much for our program. But if we're really going to get a handle on this NIL and remain competitive, we need to rally people across this state, and we really got to take some pride in the Razorbacks.
So now the onus is on you as the fan to be able to keep up. And most fans, they hate NIL. So begrudgingly, you've been put in a situation with the Waltons and everybody else. And I don't blame those families. They do enough. They're very generous, whether it's at Arkansas or any other school. They do more than just sports and what they provide for that university and has for years. But for the hardworking family, for the folks that go to games, they're not all millionaires. And in the state of Arkansas, that's a tough spot to put your fan base in.
Molly, you told us that the average household income in the state of Arkansas is what?
About $58,000.
Before taxes.
Before taxes.
Before taxes. And from a poverty standpoint, where does Arkansas rank in the top 10 in the United States?
So they're actually number 5.
Number 5.
I think this was back in May 2024 when the report came out.
Now, Mississippi is number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Mississippi has 5,000 people in their NIL collective. And if you go to the Grove collective, the cheapest that you could be a part of their association is $21 a month. And they go up from there.
On 3, back in August, they ranked the top 15 NIL collectives in order. Ohio State 1, Tennessee 2, Texas 3, Oregon 4, Miami 5, Ole Miss is at 6, Florida State 7, Nebraska 8, Louisville 9, Missouri 10, Texas A&M is at 11, Alabama at 12, Michigan at 13, Notre Dame at 14. Arkansas comes in at number 15.
Okay, so if they're saying Arkansas is at number 15, but they only have 1,000 in their NIL collective, meanwhile, Ole Miss is 6th on that list. They've got 5,000. So Alabama would fit in between the 5,000 at Ole Miss and the 1,000 at Arkansas.
But they're closer to Arkansas in the ranking.
But
Correct.
It's where is Arkansas appropriating the money? Because it goes here and it says raising NIL dollars remains a challenge for Arkansas when it comes to football. But donors stepped up this offseason to land John Calipari. Part of that came with opening up their pockets to ensure the former Kentucky coach has the NIL dollars to spend on a roster. Multiple sources said that Calipari has an open checkbook to work with. But you also have 13 roster spots and not 85.
That is correct. But if you live in the state of Arkansas, you have seen in your own eyes Arkansas win a national championship in basketball. You've seen them play for Final Four championships. You can't say that about football.
Well, and what happens if John Calipari comes in here and doesn't meet the expectations for are fans going to be okay? Well, we have a big name coach, but he's not performing, and that's directly impacting our ability to field a competitive football program. And I don't think the fan base is going to be thrilled about that.
Well, but if you're one of those middle class families and they hire Calipari after the season last year, you've already stroked that check. Are you going to turn right around and stroke it, not knowing the future of Arkansas football? Sam Pittman, a lot of people think that it's going to be his last season. Who are you going to hire? It's just tough to ask right now with everything else going on. And he goes back to read the room.
Yeah.
You want to be a hero? Hunter Yurachek announced that you're going to cut your salary in half and put it towards the collective. Saw a coach, Trent Dilfer, he did it. Be able to pay his staff, supplement things. Tye Richardson from the Natural State, Fayetteville, Arkansas. He joins us next. We'll get the temperature of the Arkansas fan base, how Hunter Yurachek's request is going over there in Arkansas.
It's time to recap what's trending with the three-man front. Lunch Hour Reset.
Welcome back into the Wednesday edition of Three-Man Front. Now, the big topic of conversation for today has been Arkansas AD Hunter Yurachek basically saying if we can get 10,000 households across the state of Arkansas to give $100 a month all year long, we would be in the NIL game from a football perspective. And that brings us into our Twin Peaks Twitter poll question of the day. Do you think that he's asking too much of the Arkansas fan base? Yes, it's an absurd request. Or no, to compete, you got to pay. And right now, yes is winning. Our listeners have voted 74.3% saying yes, it's absurd. No with 25.7%. More from this morning, we had Brian Edwards on the show. He gave us a few college football lines heading into the weekend. And Chris Stewart, the voice of the Crimson Tide, he joined the program to give us his Wisconsin recap.
Also, the ACC is exploring a new revenue structure intended to bring an end to all the lawsuits between Clemson and Florida State. Conference presidents recently examined a proposal that would distribute revenue differently to league members in a move to provide stability and preserve the membership of Florida State and Clemson. ESPN is reporting that there's a potential there of lowering the grant of rights from 2036 to 2030. That would better fall in line with the expiration of TV deals in the Big 12 and the Big 10. So we'll see if that will come to fruition.
Our buddy Tye Richardson from the great state, the natural state of Arkansas, joins us here on Three-Man Front. All of our guests join us on the Buyers Right hotline. Tye, good afternoon. Hope you're doing well. How did Hunter Yurachek's request to Arkansas fans to donate monthly to the collective go over in your state?
Not well. Guys, appreciate you guys having me on. If you hear the tornado siren in the background, I apologize. It's every Wednesday at 12 o'clock here in the natural state, seems like. Yeah, there was a lot more negative feedback than there was positive. And he just was honest. Like, I didn't have a problem with what he said. I think I think a lot of people in Alabama can understand this. Of course, you guys live in the metropolitan that is Birmingham, but there's a lot of Alabama that's not the equivalent of what you guys maybe deal with on a daily basis. And him kind of being that Northwest Arkansas / Big Booster Little Rock shell, I think sometimes they get in this bubble and they forget what the every working day Arkansan and Alabamian is. And that's where a lot of the people had pushback, not just yesterday, but throughout the week.
Did it startle a lot of people when he started quoting the fact that Ole Miss has 5 times the amount of NIL collective members than Arkansas? Was that kind of the oh gosh moment in regards to his speech?
It was definitely the biggest, Pat. But who believes in their football coach more, Ole Miss fans or Arkansas fans? Guys, it's not close. Lane Kiffin's got maybe the best roster in the history of that program at Oxford, and Arkansas's added some pieces, but there's a difference. And at one point in time, Arkansas fans thought Lane Kiffin was going to be their head coach, and things might look different now if he was. But I don't know. Like, if you're the athletics director, that comes back to you, right? It's like, well, we only have this. Well, it's because your football program hasn't won 10 wins in 2 of the last 3 years. If they had, you would be a lot closer, if not surpassing that number. Arkansas's got more people in the state. They've got a bigger endowment. I would argue that their alumni is richer in tradition when it comes to these type of donations, but it's like it falls on deaf ears when you have an athletics director at times. And Hunter can't contribute unless I'm unaware of this rule. I don't think he can contribute, but he's making like $1.5 million. His head coach is making, I think, mid-5, if I remember that right. So it's just not. A lot of Arkansans are frustrated because they see the revenue distribution from the SEC to Arkansas. And I know they can't use it till this whole court situation gets out, but it's very disheartening to a lot of fans when they talk about money and they see all the money that's being made in Fayetteville, Arkansas when it comes to athletics department.
Tye, I quoted On3, and they put it out just last month of their top 15. They ranked their top 15 college collectives. Arkansas came in at number 15, which was surprising, but they also noted that most of that money is appropriated towards Coach Cal, building that roster. Where is the fandom? I know the lack of success in football versus basketball, but where is the fandom as a whole with Arkansas football fans versus Arkansas basketball fans?
we kept getting texts this morning when's basketball season when it comes to this discussion, which is funny because they haven't even played an SEC game yet in football. They will this Saturday at Jordan-Hare Stadium. But I think basketball, there's a rich tradition, much like there is in Lexington, Kentucky, and Fayetteville, Arkansas. So you have this like diverse community across the state where they love their football, basketball, baseball. It's not really found anywhere. Maybe Tennessee has grown into that with what Tony Batello has done in Knoxville and Barnes to a certain extent in basketball. But I think people are way more excited. And apparently, Landrum, the on-3 that you quoted, according to Matt Norlander of CBS Sports, Arkansas has the number one NIL program in basketball, according to like 100-plus coaches that he interviewed, him and Gary Parrish, his partner. So I think your basketball program's like number one. Your football is probably in the top 25. But, guys, we know how that is in the SEC. That's like 10th. 10th or 11th in the conference, and maybe lesser than that with the additions of Oklahoma and Texas.
So let's talk about this football game coming up this weekend as the Auburn Tigers have a brand new quarterback. They feel really good about the way he looked last weekend. Arkansas is coming off a hard-fought win against UAB. How do you see this one playing out? I understand Arkansas has got a couple of injured guys that are going to be back this week, especially on the offensive line. Is this Hog team, is this an expectation that they can go to Auburn and get out of there with a win?
I think when you look at the betting line, you look at both teams, I think this really is a toss-up game. I mean, this game was on a neutral side. It'd be a pick-em game. And Arkansas has not fared well at times in Jordan-Hare Stadium. And then Fred Talley and Darren McFadden in 2006 and 2002 have had some success. So I think you have to look at a couple of things. Travis Williams going home. Alma mater, he coached there. This game means a lot to him. They got trounced last year 48-10, and frankly got embarrassed. His defense did. And they didn't play great last week. I think the combination of that is going to really give them a surge on defense. And Hank Brown's going into game number 2 against a real opponent because they didn't play a real defensive opponent last week in New Mexico. And then you combine that with an offense that struggled. Taylor Green had the worst game he's had in 3. So I think you're going to see a really competitive game. I'm still leaning Auburn just because of the magic that seems to happen in Jordan-Hare Stadium, but I wouldn't be surprised if Arkansas was to pull it out.
You know, there were times, Tye, and we visited there in Fayetteville in the pregame show, but times there watching that football game last Saturday where even it was talk amongst, folks on the sideline, why would Arkansas, why does Bobby Petrino continue to go to the air, run the football? I mean, Jackson is an absolute stud. Taylon Green, we know how hard it is to contain a guy like him, but he creates just enough for a guy like Andrew Armstrong, who is just a physical specimen, to get lost in a lot of secondaries. Do you think we see more of the run game, or do you think Bobby Petrino continues to try to put it in the air because that's just who he is?
I think it all comes down to what DJ Durkin does defensively. And I know they have different alignments. They blitz a lot. If Arkansas has success running the football, I think they're gonna do it as much as possible. Turnovers plagued them in Stillwater. They plagued them before in Auburn, unfortunately. I think it just Petrino's going to keep running the rock. I think if he gets 4, 5, 6 yards a carry, which I think Jaquinta Jackson is averaging around that on this season. He's been phenomenal. 6 touchdowns, nearly 400 rushing yards. And then you combine the aspect you were talking about with Taylon Green. They will win the game regardless of how they need to, or they're going to try, I should say, to win the game regardless of how they need to. They just got to hope Taylon's much more on point than what you saw at the sidelines of Razorback Stadium, because if he plays like that, Landrum, they got no shot to win this football game Saturday at 2:30.
In regards to this football team this year, what you've seen, what has impressed you and what has disappointed you about this year's version of this Arkansas football? Sorry, I'm sitting next to Landrum. There's some website he's on right now. So
I'm not a virgin.
But the version of this team this year, give us one thing that has impressed you and one thing that has disappointed you.
I thought you were going to throw that pot shot at Conrad, Pat. Instead, you threw it at your co-host. I would say that like them acclimating as quick as they have to Petrino's offense has been a pleasant surprise, with the exception of the game last week. Landon, I hope you're not in Auburn this week, because things did not go well at Fayetteville offensively obviously. But I think that's a positive. Negative-wise, it's the close-score game, right? I mean, this team lost 5 one-score games last year, one being in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, game I was at, electric atmosphere, first time at Bryant Denny Stadium. And once again, they found a way to lose a game like that this year. In a game they dominated. Guys, they almost doubled Oklahoma State in yards. They thoroughly kicked their tail up and down the field. Yet when the game concluded, Oklahoma State 39, Arkansas 31. So it's the same old story, same outcome, just a different way to get there. And knowing Arkansas's tendencies, wouldn't be surprised if something similar happened this Saturday in Auburn.
Tye, it's early. You've had a quality opponent and going on the road and playing Oklahoma State, a game that I think a lot of us believe that Arkansas ultimately should have won. But is this going to be the litmus test for you this week, or have you already seen enough to see that this Arkansas team can potentially be bowl eligible?
I think this is a better litmus test. No disrespect to Oklahoma State. I know they're picked 3rd in the Big 12, but do any of us really think that team would compete for an SEC championship, much less the top 6 or 7 in this league? I mean, I think Auburn and Oklahoma State would be just as competitive as what we saw in Stillwater a week ago. So, I mean, Auburn is not the cream of the crop in this league. I think Auburn fans will admit that through 3 games, but it's still Auburn. It's still the university with 2 national championships, a Heisman Trophy, or 2 Heisman Trophy winners, I guess, and a team that Arkansas, again, has struggled to get, not just struggled, but got just swatted like last year. So this is a much better litmus test, Landrum, and if they win this game, I think you bring a lot of Arkansas fans back with you. If you lose, especially close, people are going to head into Jerry World that following weekend and say, you know what's the difference between last weekend? They might compete, but lose in dramatic or painful fashion is just a story Arkansas fans are getting accustomed to.
So is there a number that he's safe, or do you think the die's already been cast?
I think it's 6, Pat. I mean, they make a bowl game. I'd be shocked if they made a change. If they don't, I mean, he's just putting himself on thin ice. And you put yourself in a situation, if you're Sam Pittman, you had a great chance to get out of it a week and a half ago in Boone-Pickens Stadium. And you've got Auburn and Texas A&M, you're not playing Bama, Georgia, and Texas to start out the season, right? You've got there's a pathway to when you come back to Fayetteville and you take on the Tennessee Volunteers, who are probably going to be top 5 in the country at that point, because I don't see them losing in Oklahoma this weekend, that you give fans a reason to attend. And because you're playing not lesser opponents, but just middle-of-the-pack SEC squads. You're not playing the top dogs right now. So I think it's 6, Pat, but I've been wrong plenty of times in my 29 years of living, and wouldn't be surprised if something else happened, to be honest.
Well, Tye, my first trip to the Natural State, obviously my first trip to Fayetteville, it was wonderful. Herman's was outstanding. Great recommendation by you. Also, I was commenting to you how impressed I was with the Tahoma 31 turf. Some of it got kicked up during the game, so I saved it, and I planted it in my backyard.
Let's go. I love that. Yeah, it's cool, man. Fayetteville's a unique place. It got rated last 3 or 4 years as the #1 SEC U.S. city. You can't really count Nashville because it's not really a college town, and Vanderbilt's the 5th most popular college in that state. But I'm glad you enjoyed Fayetteville, Landrum. It's a special place, and it'll always be home for me. Anytime I go there, definitely have memories flowing through.
And not only Fayetteville,
it's a cool place.
Not only Fayetteville, Tye, but Rogers. I was blown away by, and I've been told by people that's just recently in the last 10 years. But you get off the exit, there's a Top Golf, there's all kinds of stuff out there. Just not what I was envisioning, but it was a very pleasant visit there to Arkansas.
Pat Landrum was just happy we had electricity here in the state.
Yeah, you should have heard all the stuff that he was worried about. He was worried about indoor plumbing, whether your streets were paved. He had all sorts of worries about going to Arkansas. But
Tye was wearing shoes.
Unlike Conrad.
I was wearing shoes.
Yeah, unlike Conrad.
I had my Chacos with me, but I didn't sport them that day. NWA is one of the 10. I think it's one of the top 10 fastest growing areas. When you have Walmart, Tyson, JB Hunt, I mean, it's growing at a rapid pace. And next time, Landrum, I know I wanted you to bring your clubs last week, but next time you come into town for whatever reason, Pat, you're welcome to. Conrad and Molly, I don't know if y'all play golf, but you got to bring the clubs. We got to hit the links a little bit. I know there's great places across Birmingham and Alabama, but I'd like to show you a course or two here in Arkansas.
So you're coming through here Friday, right? Isn't that right?
Yes, and man, dude, I want to stop. Because there's so many courses. There's like 50 courses I want to play in Alabama, but I'm staying in Memphis Thursday night, and just the timing doesn't work out. But I'd like to, if it's okay with you guys, make a pit stop on the way to Atlanta for SEC Media Days, and maybe hit the sticks before we talk a little ball.
Sure.
Next July.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll set up the tee time.
Yeah, that's not a problem. We got you covered. All right, Tye. Well, listen, enjoy your trip to the wonderful state of Alabama, and we will not ask you for any NIL money when you're in the state.
Thank you, Pat. I will be spending plenty of that money, probably at various watering holes in Auburn come Friday. Can't wait.
Tye, we always appreciate it, man. Thank you. Safe travels. Enjoy the weekend, and we will talk to you very soon.
Guys, appreciate it.
Tye Richardson from the state of Arkansas joining us, as all of our guests do, on the Buyers Right hotline for all of your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner.
Baseball season is coming down the stretch, and let me tell you all about an exciting way to watch the pennant fever as your favorite teams and players come down the stretch. It's Underdog Fantasy. By downloading the Underdog Fantasy app today or by going to UnderdogFantasy.com, you are seconds away from enjoying the best fantasy experience you can have in sports. Signing up is easy and fast by downloading the Underdog Fantasy app. The thing I personally love about the Underdog Fantasy app is that I have the ability to win some real money while I'm watching my favorite players, like today, for instance, Major League Baseball. I'm not a Cubs fan, as y'all know, but this afternoon, pitcher Justin Steele, higher than 5.5 strikeouts. That looks solid. The A's Brent Rooker, lower than 1.5 bases. And the Braves' Michael Harris tonight against the Reds, higher 1.5 bases. Those look solid to me on my Underdog Fantasy Champions picks. Win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite team's stats, TDs, passing yards, hits, bases, etc. Sign up with the promo code today at 3MF, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first Cash Champions entry, plus up to $1,000 bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code 3MF to claim your new customer special, a free pick, and your deposit offer. Must be 19 plus in Alabama and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Interesting thoughts from our friend Tye Richardson. Not only the game coming up this weekend at Jordan-Hare, but also the reaction there in the natural state to Hunter Yurachek, the Arkansas AD, and him asking 10,000 Arkansas residents to donate $100 per month. The text line is open, 205-834-9450. Three-man front on this Wednesday, Jocks 94.5.
It is 12:21, Jocks 94.5. At 12:45, we'll talk to Jonathan Nelson. The Barons lose last night to the Tennessee Smokies 3-1 in the best of three series for the Southern League Championship. They are back at home tonight. It's a must-win for the Barons. If they win, then it will be a winner-take-all game here in Birmingham on Friday night.
Well, something that's a little more affordable than $100 a month in NIL is happy hour at Twin Peaks in Hoover, because whatever your preference is, they'll have everything for you, from their tequila cocktails and extensive bourbon category to those top shelf spirits and cocktails served over iced balls. Their local craft beers and handcrafted whiskey cocktails round out their adventurous drink menu that's second to none. And don't forget about their 29-degree man-sized drafts when you visit our friends at Twin Peaks in Hoover.
Text line is open, 205-834-9450. Bobby texts into the show and says, after hearing the list of the top 15 NIL collectives, Arkansas has no excuse. Neither LSU or Georgia was on that list, and they both have top 3 recruiting classes right now. It's not a money problem. It's a money management problem. Good thought. Sparrow. Arkansas AD isn't really talking to the everyday Joe. 10,000 people would represent 0.33% of the state population. There are definitely 10,000 people that could easily manage $100 per month. He could care less what people who would never contribute to the collective think about his request. I can guarantee the dollars will start coming in just as fast as the messages of outrage to local and regional media outlets from those who don't pay the bills.
Well, if that were the case, then why haven't people already signed up?
Why didn't they have a record fundraising, like 24-hour period?
Yeah.
Didn't we see that at Ole Miss?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've missed all the stories coming out of Northwest Arkansas about after those comments came Monday. I have not, and we just had Tye Richardson on. I have not heard any reports about Arkansas now having over 5,000 NIL members.
Wonder if getting that win over Oklahoma State, maybe that urged people to contribute a little more. If you're undefeated right now going into Auburn and SEC play,
it's called throwing good money at a bad situation.
This next text may be viewed as controversial. I'm going to read it anyways. Maybe Tyson can send the Arkansas NIL some money they are saving by using all the cheap labor from Haiti and Mexico at their plants in Alabama. Just reading it. I'm not familiar with who's working at the plants. I know those plants, they typically do not smell great, from what I've heard, right? Paper mill or chicken plant? Which
chicken
one's worse?
processing
give
plant,
me the paper mill. Can't imagine that. No, I don't think you want to see how that stuff's made either.
I talked to a guy who he was in construction. He had to go and work on a project. I forget where it was. And he said it was the largest dog food manufacturing.
Oh, I can only imagine the smell.
He said he threw away all of his clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This text coming in, can y'all give me a rundown of the picks that Brian Edwards made earlier? I missed that segment.
Absolutely. Here we go. Mississippi State +6, Georgia Tech +10.5, Cal +2.5, Tulane -3, and Indiana -28. And also, as of right now, you can find it offshore if you want to go ahead and for entertainment purposes only. Correct. If you want to play the Alabama-Georgia game, it's now Georgia -2.5. He loves Alabama straight up.
Go back and listen to the podcast and what he added with his comment there at the end.
Yeah.
You'll love that, Georgia fans.
A reference to a dog.
Of the female variety.
Yes.
Josh texts in and says, as a JB Hunt driver, I'm begging the people of Arkansas to please pay this NIL. I need more pay raises, LOL.
There you go.
It's a good way to look at it.
My Tide Pride seat costs $2,500 a year. That's too much, but I still do it because I get 2 tickets to 7 home games. It's all about priorities.
It is. And if you can afford it, that's great. I mean, that's great. I think we would all be in that boat if we could afford it.
Jonathan says we're soon to see how many football programs are destroyed by NIL. This one rolling in. Landrum, college coach for 20 years, just retired. Congratulations. To heck with the universities and the NCAA. This is all on them to begin with. Now the institutional greed has come back to haunt them. The ones that will suffer will be the non-revenue athletes when departments start dropping programs. It's inevitable.
It is.
We saw some programs being dropped in the COVID year.
And that's why it's so interesting what's going to happen moving forward the next 2 or 3 years. How many of these schools legitimately can handle a $22 to $25 million expenditure just paying the players? We're not talking about brick and mortar, building a new weight room or another wing to the football stadium. We're talking about just per year a budget line where you're paying players $22 to $25 million, and that's across all sports. Football, you're going to probably between 12 and 15 million.
Mm-hmm. Well, and this is just one school as an example, but you look at somebody like a Stanford, right? And all the expenses they're now paying to travel on top of the fact that they're one of the most prolific universities in the country when it comes to winning national championships, but it's in sports that we don't watch, right? It's not in football or basketball or baseball or softball, but are you willing to go and cut those national championship winning programs so that you can field, a football program that's going to go 6-6 or 7-5? Like, where do your priorities lie?
Matt from Maplesville texts in about the Florida head coaching job. I don't think it's Lane. Already having what it looks like a playoff team, the portal and signing day begin before the playoffs this year. The timeline just doesn't work for him to start fresh and miss those deadlines at the University of Florida. Give me Golish, Malzahn, Schumann, maybe Petrino as front runners for the head coaching job at Florida, pending a Napier buyout. Ooh, I could see potentially Golish if some of the higher candidates. I do think that Lane is number one priority, and they will try to throw the bank at him.
I like Schumann. I think that's a good. I mean, if you want to go, I don't mean this is a knock towards him, but almost like the poor man's Dan Lanning, right? Because he's now Dan Lanning, because Dan Lanning was the defensive coordinator. Now he's doing a great job at Oregon. So, I mean, if you can't get Dan Lanning, you could do worse than Glenn Schumann.
I'm going to throw it out again, and this is a dark horse pick, but Eli Drinkwitz.
Strike while the iron's hot.
His stock has risen. His buyout is $5 million. That's doable. Keep the text coming in. 205-834-9450.
When it comes to plumbing, always have a pro on standby. That's Iron Mountain Drains and Plumbing, rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. They're family owned and operated. They handle everything: faucet repairs, water heater maintenance, commercial plumbing, sewer line repairs, and so much more. One call will do it all for you. That number is 205-516-4927, Iron Mountain Drains and Plumbing, or go to their website, ironmountainworld.com, for a free quote. Big or small, Iron Mountain Drains and Plumbing does it all. ironmountainworld.com, family-owned and operated service company, ready to tackle any of those bothersome problems you have at your house. That is Iron Mountain Drains and Plumbing, 205-516-4927. When we come back on Three Man Front, Deion Sanders, open mic yesterday, had some interesting things to say about NIL, since we are talking about NIL, and what that has to do with the media. That's next on Three Man Front. Coming in about 10 minutes, we'll talk to the general manager of the Birmingham Barons, Jonathan Nelson, will join us. Big home game tonight as the playoffs. First time that Birmingham has hosted a playoff game in quite some time as the Barons try to stave off elimination against the Tennessee Smokies.
How about a new Ford from our friends at Dobbs Ford, Birmingham's newest Ford dealership right there on Parkway East? It'd be nice to drive around to high school football games, college football games, NFL, if that tickles your fancy, or just to drive around. A wonderful automobile from our friends at Dobbs Ford. Whether it's the F-150s, great selection there. The Broncos Sports. How about one of those Mustangs or an Explorer? You're going to get top dollar for your trade. Wonderful family-run business, but it's not just the Goshens. It's everyone there at Dobbs Ford. Everyone reflects the values there of the Goshens and what they represent. You're going to notice it when you walk on the lot. You're going to notice it when you walk into Alabama's largest showroom selection. Top dollar for your trade. They'll beat any competitor's price. DobbsFordBirmingham.com. It's DobbsFordBirmingham.com. Make sure you tell them Landrum from Jocks 94.5 sent you.
All right, so I want to take you back a week ago as Colorado and Colorado State, they were getting ready to play their interstate game between the Rams and the Buffaloes. And the starting quarterback, Braden Flower Nicolosi, he's the starting quarterback for the Colorado State Rams. This is what he had to say leading up to the kickoff between the Buffs and the Rams.
Yeah, they came out with that attitude and thought it was going to be a cakewalk. They saw the reports, 27.5 points or whatever it was. And they got a rude awakening real quick. And I think it goes to show that the hype, the media train, all that, it only gets you so far. At the end of the day, you have to line up 11 guys against our 11 guys, and we'll find out who wants it more, and we'll see how far Instagram followers gets them.
Well, it got them far enough to where they won the game quite easily.
I was about to say, it looked a lot different than the game last year.
Yeah.
That he was referencing in that clip.
Yeah. So the quarterback runs his mouth. They go on the field. They lay a goose egg. And so after the game, he was trying to shake Shedeur Sanders' hand. This is Shedeur Sanders after the game.
All right, keep talking about business.
There you go. I know it might have been difficult for you to hear, but you had a couple bleeps. And listen, I do not blame Shedeur Sanders whatsoever for saying what he did.
No.
Because you know what? If you're going to talk smack and you can't back it up and then you want to come on the field and you want to be my best friend, we ain't playing that game.
Well, and I understand where the Colorado State quarterback was coming from, but you still lost that game last year. It's not like they got a rude awakening and we upset them.
They got a rude awakening for like what, a half?
Yeah, you still lost the football game to Colorado last year.
Yeah, so he runs his mouth at the beginning of the week. You come out, you lose at home in front of the largest crowd in the history of Colorado State football. 44,000 plus in attendance in that nice little new stadium they got. And so he's trying to shake Shedeur Sanders' hand, and you heard Shedeur Sanders. I'm in 100% agreement with Shedeur Sanders.
I don't have an issue with that.
No problem.
That's no problem at all. All right, let's listen to Coach Prime, Shedeur's father, after the Colorado State game.
Heartfelt game, emotional game. They kind of make it like that. We just want to play some football. The disrespect was uncalled for throughout the week. A couple of their players took shots at the whole program and a few of our players, so it is what it is. So we knew that coming into the game it was going to be a bit personal, and it was. I think one of our coaches, Coach Phillips, doing warm-ups, one of the guys ran into him and elbowed him, which is uncalled for. I just pray that our kids never acted in that manner, because I know you guys would have a field day if they did. But I know you won't say anything or do anything when the opposing team does that versus us make derogatory comments during the week about our program.
That was Coach Prime after the game as they defeated their cross-state rival, the Colorado State Rams. So yesterday, Deion Sanders, meeting with the media, started talking about how the landscape has changed in college football. And then the topic of NIL came up. So take a listen to what Coach Sanders had to say.
Landscape has changed in football. Once upon a time, you guys never attacked college players. Now they're making more money than y'all. And some of y'all are envious and jealous about that. So you're on the tech. It was hands off a college player because he's an amateur. Remember that, guys? Now it's hands on. Go at him any kind of way you want. They're making more money than me, and I'm mad about it. When you attack them, these guys are sensitive. They've never been attacked. They hadn't gone through what I've been going through with y'all for years. They haven't done that. So it is what it is. I know you're going to do your job and what you must do, but your job does not say attack. The personal stuff, leave it to be personal, because if we start flipping the script on y'all, you wouldn't like it. I can easy. Thank you, Lord, for stopping me there. Ooh, that was almost a good one. That would have went viral.
Okay. One thing that I don't like in people, and I think a lot of people would agree with this, and we all fall victim to it at times, but some more than others. I can't stand hypocrites. And for what Deion said, I understand in his mind, he's saying, oh, well, you're going against these athletes, these kids, and you're saying negative things about them. Okay, so we're going to give these kids the benefit of being treated like adults and paying them ridiculous amounts of money to play a game and be considered professionals, but then we're not allowed to criticize them when they don't perform, or we're not allowed to criticize them when they do something bad off the field. So it's okay for your kid and his buddy to go in New York Fashion Week instead of being with your team in spring practice. That's okay. But we're not allowed to hold them accountable for that. They can do whatever they want, but we can't hold them accountable for anything that they do. They have free reign because that's the world we live in now, right? We can't criticize. Don't criticize the kids. It's a kid. He's innocent. Okay, that kid's getting paid millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars to play a game. I think they deserve to be treated like adults, right? How many 18-year-olds do you know that want to be treated like kids? None of them. They want to be treated like an adult. And if you want to be treated like an adult, that comes with consequences. And personally, I'll take those consequences if I'm getting paid 7 figures or 6 figures or whatever it is to go play a freaking game. I'll take the criticism. But apparently Deion, he says he's raising men, not baby daddies. He's raising men. Well, you got some weak-minded men if they can't handle criticism, Deion.
It just seems like that every bit of the focus, it's not about the stuff on the field. It's social media. It's that guy disrespected me on Instagram. Block out the noise. I agree with what you said. If you're making grown people money, you're going to be treated like a grown person. If I don't know what the collective looks like there in Boulder, but you're asking me to give $100 a month to pay some of these kids, I would like to be able to share my opinion. Now, some choose to go about it in different ways. And some of that's not me personally and how I would go about it, it seems like everything around that program is everything but the actual substance and the stuff on the field. That's frustrating. And I'm growing tired of it, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, taking a shot at what somebody makes or they don't make, that would be the basis of somebody's criticism because you're jealous. Or the fact that, okay, I'm going to criticize Travis Kelce because I'm jealous because he's dating Taylor Swift. I mean, it's in the same ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you're not doing your job as a journalist to be able to look at something in a black and white manner and write about it or to offer up an opinion based on what you're seeing on the field. But he is trying to say and throw us all in the same boat that it's all jealousy. And
go get yours.
And you heard at the very end of that clip where he stopped. He was about to go down that same road he went down a week ago that had that whole conversation on this show about the definition of a threat, because he was about to go down that exact road that he did the week before and he stopped. So
you want to have your cake and eat it too, right? You love that your kids are making money. You love that they're getting all the media attention. You love what they're doing for their personal branding. And that's great. I don't have a problem with any of it. That is all good stuff for the student athletes. I get that. But then you want to turn around and when the going gets a little tough, you don't want to take the negative sides that come with your players making a lot of money and being all in the media and having Instagram followers and all these different things. It's all or the other. Like you can't have both, in my opinion. You shouldn't have both.
As long as I've been on the radio with Paul Feinbaum in this show, I have been consistent. And this was days before NIL. I never had a problem with somebody going to a game and booing a kid. And the reason why is because there's a lot of hard-earned money that goes into buying tickets to the game. Now, I know Landrum and I, we've had this discussion on the show before, and we've had differing opinions on that. I'm not talking about standing up and doing what they're doing to Billy Napier at Florida to a kid. But like, if you don't like what you're seeing and you're just booing, and I'm not talking about yelling profanities, I'm talking about just booing, showing your displeasure of what you're witnessing during a game. I had no problem with that back in 1996, and I certainly don't have a problem with it in 2024. But the point of the matter is that now these kids are basically employees of the university.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to pay that amount of money, then I've got no issue whatsoever if you want to voice your displeasure in a way that does not embarrass your family while you're at the stadium.
And there are things that are obviously out of line, but when it comes to, you know, a guy doesn't play well in a game and you have questions about his decision making or why
so you're
he did
jealous
this or that
because
or
he's
the-
making so much money.
Yeah, no, it's football. That's what it's
Because he
about.
just
We're
lost me a
asking
lot
the
of money in
questions.
a lot of cases.
That's also a fair point.
Play defense. That's a bad backdoor cover. That's what a lot of this comes down to.
Yeah.
I just choose not to boo. I'm not going to waste. I'm not going to waste my energy, my vocal cords, and
I'll boo.
I'll do it in other ways.
I'll boo.
Well, I've been
I'll do
fortunate
the old cupping of the mouth, like pitching coach is going to talk to pitcher, and I'll just drop obscenities. Just to me.
Well, college football is back. Bama Fever Tiger Pride is loaded with game day gear for the upcoming season. Truckloads of merchandise are hitting the doors every day with brand new T-shirts, hats, polos, tailgate gear, and so much more. For over 40 years, family owned and operated, Bama Fever Tiger Pride, they have been about providing fans quality and authentic merchandise of your favorite team. Shop in person, one of their 9 locations around the state, or online at shopbamafever.com or shoptigerpride.com.
You know, last night when the Braves they lost that lead that they had in Cincinnati, might have been a few obscenities there. We will talk to the general manager of the Birmingham Barons, Jonathan Nelson, about a big playoff matchup coming up tonight. It's 3-Man Front and Jocks 94.5.
It is 12:49, Jocks 94.5. We'll talk to Nelly, Jonathan Nelson, the general manager of the Birmingham Barons. They will have a home game tomorrow night and hopefully a game Friday night in the playoffs against the Smokies.
If you're looking to upgrade and enhance your outdoor living area and landscape, our friends at Second Generation Masonry, that's the team for beautifying any area. Their expert team crafts durable brick, concrete, elegant stone creations that elevate any space from fire pits, maybe an outdoor fireplace. Landscape steps, garden walls, stone patios, and walkways to custom driveways. These are your guys, whether it's residential or commercial. Check out the website, secondgenerationmasonry.com. Look at some of the completed projects. Get your free quote today, secondgenerationmasonry.com. Make sure you tell them Landrum from Jocks 94.5 sent you.
Joining us on the Buyers Ride Hotline, Jonathan Nelson, the general manager of the Birmingham Barons, joins us. A tough loss last night, 3-1 to the Smokies, but got an opportunity tomorrow night to even the series.
I appreciate it. Great to be with you guys. And yeah, it was difficult last night, in watching it. We certainly had our opportunities and only losing 3-1. Very competitive game, and we had a golden opportunity late in the game a couple times, but specifically in the eighth inning with the bases loaded with one man out and just couldn't push a run or two over. But regardless, we'll continue the playoffs tomorrow night here at Regents Field, 7 o'clock, first pitch, and got a lot of things going on. Raleigh Fingers Hall of Fame baseball will be here at the ballpark tomorrow night. We're going to unveil the permanent baseball exhibit that's going to be scattered around Regents Field tomorrow night as well. And of course, it's Thursday, so it's Thursday. And in addition to playoff baseball, and hopefully we'll even the series and push to a decisive game 3 on Friday.
Nelly, I don't want to be speaking out of turn. I'm just going to ask you in kind of generalities, but is there any incentive for some of the minor league clubs to win championships besides pride and a trophy?
Well, if you're talking about financial, no, there's no additional financial, implications when it comes to this. I think that more than anything is that these guys are all in. They want to win a championship. They want the ring. They want the bling. And certainly, for our fan base, I know there's a lot of folks that it's not, living and dying with the wins and losses like, college football teams here in the state. Yet at the same time, there's a tremendous amount of civic pride in what we experienced in 2013 when we brought home the Southern League Championship. So hopefully we can continue to do that. I know that people were excited when the Stallions, they've won their championships in recent years, and other teams here in town, they've done well in the playoffs in recent years too. But hopefully, we can bring, a championship back to Regents Field and just make it put a bow on a special season that's already been in 2024.
All right, so let's talk about tomorrow night. You said it's Thursday, and let's go ahead and say we're going to get that victory tomorrow night. And then Friday, a good opportunity for folks to get some affordable tickets for the family.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, to continue be decisive. Unlike the last time we were in the playoffs, it was a best-of-5 series, both series, and so this is best of 3. So a little wiggle room for stubbing your toe, but pushing to a game 3 would be ideal. And then we'll take our chances with the next round. And right now, Biloxi and Montgomery playing in that other division series. So hopefully, both we'll make it sort of an I-65 series and start game 1 on Sunday. But obviously there's much to do before we get to that point. But at the same time, 7 o'clock first pitch for the if necessary game on Friday night as well.
Are you superstitious when it comes to the playoffs?
I'm superstitious about everything, whether it be about weather on a game day or anything when it comes to it. Last time we won in 2013, I should never admit it, but I wore the same attire for 2 weeks in a row.
Wait, when you say attire, does that mean everything?
Everything
for 2 weks?
Well, not the full gamut, but certainly pants.
You're not going Danny Hurley of UConn here.
No.
Okay.
The socks and other stayed in the drawer, but at the same time, pants and shirt. Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, I'm very superstitious.
Well, anything in particular outside the clothes, like food or a certain, maybe a route to the ballpark? Anything like that? You're going to try to switch it up or do the same thing you always do?
Everything's in play, whether it be post-game beverage, route to the ballpark, meal, whatever it is, breakfast, everything, a workout that I do in the morning, whatever it is, it is Groundhog Day and then some every day.
Well, we know that. Win. Well, yes, and by the looks of it, we know that the White Sox, they're not going to make the postseason. My Braves, Pat's Cardinals, they're not going to make the postseason. So we can all hang out together and watch playoff baseball.
Well, that's unfortunately pretty much the norm in recent years for a lot of teams, including the White Sox. But at the same time, hopefully there's better years in front of us for all the teams that you spoke about, the Cardinals, Braves, and, of course, the White Sox.
Well, Molly wants to point out that her Detroit Tigers are still knocking on the door of the playoffs. That AL Central that's been something else. Hey, don't turn your mic on. What we're talking about.
Sorry,
the Tigers.
you're talking about
Hey, grown people talking here.
I got my shirt on and
Listen,
everything
I've
today.
fight my heart for the Tigers. I understand that, and hopefully, the Tigers can, continue to push. But obviously, they're, that's a great organization, and hopefully, that'll be special for them. But at the same time, you're right. The AL Central is unique. Let's just say this year at least.
It certainly is. Well, hey, Jonathan, it's been a quick season, man. It seems like we were talking to you about spring training and getting ready for a season. Now, I know with you guys living every single day at the ballpark and doing what all you have to do for homestands, that you're probably ready for the off season. But it's been a great year, to say the least, of Birmingham Barons baseball, and we can't thank you enough for being a part of this radio station company, and just everything you guys do for the community of Birmingham. It's been outstanding.
Well, really appreciate it. And thank everybody, obviously the community partners. You guys have always been great, this show. And then, of course, everybody at Jocks has always been wonderful. And just another wonderful season here at Regions Field. I mean, to be able to write another chapter of Barons history and to continue the tradition that we set, and to all the great things that occurred. You're right. You get to this point of the season, it always seems like it goes in sort of lightning fast speed, yet at the same time, I mean, it seems like almost years ago we were talking about the Rickwood games in Major League Baseball and, of course, opening day and everything else before that. But, at this point, the show goes on. It's, getting ready. Working in baseball is always getting ready for the next game series and ultimately the next season. And that's where we are, is that while we are starting to wrap up and hopefully put a bow on a championship season in 2024, we're already starting to start the process for 2025. And next thing you know, we're at the minor league fall meetings in Charlotte in a few weeks. And then, of course, the winter meetings in Dallas in December, and getting ready for next season in due time. So really appreciate everything, guys. You guys have always been aces, so we really appreciate it.
Nelly, we appreciate you. Thank you for everything that you do for us. And when it's all said and done, enjoy a well-deserved rest and a vacation. How about that?
Look forward to it. Duly noted and taken in due time. Absolutely.
Jonathan Nelson, general manager of the Barons. Playoff baseball tomorrow there at Regions. We continue here on the show. It's three-man front. Jocks 94.5, JocksFM.com, the Jocks 94.5 app, and wherever you find people stream. 1 o'clock here on Three Man Front on this Wednesday edition. Landrum, Pat, Conrad, and Molly. Hope everyone is doing well wherever you're listening. Sports Radio 740 there in Montgomery, also in North Alabama. 730 1039 The Ump and Jocks TV. If you've not tuned in, you can go and search YouTube for Jocks TV 945. You can find all the shows, all the content there, or on the Jocks 94.5 app.
Well, let me tell you about our friends at Twin Peaks and Hoover. They sponsor our daily poll question, which we'll get to in just a minute here on Three Man Front. But this is also your reminder to get your axe to the lodge the month of September for all of the fresh menu additions coming to Twin Peaks and Hoover. You can spice up your wing order with 2 of their new sauces, the chicken tikka and the spicy chili crisp sauces, or you can try their new take on their famous flatbreads with the backyard barbecue brisket and chicken tikka flatbreads. And if you can't decide between one of those quesadillas or tacos, how about the quesabirria tacos featuring their in-house smoked brisket served with birria broth for dipping? Go visit them, our friends at Twin Peaks over there in Hoover. And as I mentioned, they sponsor our daily poll question here on Three Man Front. And Molly, can you please remind our listeners what today's question is?
Yeah, do you think it's asking too much for Arkansas AD Hunter Yurachek to say, if we can get 10,000 households across the state of Arkansas to give $100 a month all year long, we would be in the NIL game from a football perspective? Is this an absurd request, or no, you have to compete to pay? 74% of our audience said yes, this is absurd.
Okay. Well, you can keep voting there at the number 3 Man Front. This coming in from Football Scoop, and we've been talking about collectives, and the governor of the state of Georgia has just signed a bill that would basically prevent the NCAA any repercussions for kids in high school that receive NIL funds to be held against them later in their careers once they become collegiate athletes. But also, this from our friends at Football Scoop, the University of Georgia has an active collective and dedicated staff within its football department to helping fund the Bulldogs' de facto college football player salary pool. Multiple sources have said that the Bulldogs have an NIL salary for their roster. You want to take a guess how much it is for 2024?
Oh, for a high school?
No, this is Georgia Bulldogs.
For the Georgia football. Okay. I'm going to go.
Is this average per player?
This is total.
Oh,
just
total.
For the football. For 2024 for that roster in Athens.
$13 million.
Pat?
I'm going to go north of that. I'm going to say 14 and a half.
I was going to go like 16, 17.
Conrad, you win. You'll be in the Showcase Showdown. $12 million approximately.
Oh, looky there.
Wow.
But that surprised me too, because based on, it was Ryan Day at Ohio State, and this is kind of a dated comment, but he said $13 million to maintain the roster. But the reports were that Ohio State, they're closer to $20 million, right?
Yeah, for the
north
this
of 15.
year specifically.
Yeah,
yes.
North of 15 for sure.
Because Georgia and some of those programs, they can still do it. It's not all about NIL for every one of these guys. And if it's comparable, that's fine. Not always a top dollar, but they can still sell number of players in the NFL on active rosters, and they can still sell championships.
Yes, they certainly have and we talked about with Alabama for the long time, right? We called it the Nick Saban discount, right? They were able to get players for less than other schools. Now, granted, there were players that maybe in the past would have gone to Alabama without NIL, but you were going to play for the greatest coach of all time, so you were able to get players a little cheaper maybe than other places.
Going back to the governor and what he said about NIL, because this is eventually, we believe it's inevitable. It's going to move to the state of Alabama, but he wrote and he ordered that neither the NCAA, an athletic conference, nor any organization with authority over intercollegiate athletics shall take any adverse action against a post-secondary educational institution in the state of Georgia for such institution facilitating, compensating, offering compensation, or compensating an intercollegiate student athlete for the use of such students' athletes' NIL. Meaning Georgia Tech, Georgia, they can't hold it against you. So we don't have to go through the charade of a district court judge and all of that good stuff that we got with Tennessee.
Well, the other question is once you get them on campus, can you keep them from getting arrested? And that's been a problem at the University of Georgia. This is what Kirby Smart had to say yesterday. Listen to the reporter's question and Kirby's answer.
I get that these are young guys, but there's clearly team consequences. There's fines from the collectives. Why is this continuing to happen?
Because we continue to have guys make poor decisions. you know, and it's very unfortunate, and I know that our staff, myself, continue to drive home the sensitive nature of it. It's certainly a deadly speed when you talk about the speed that he was traveling at, and you know, you want kids to grow up. You want to treat them like your own kids. You want them to grow up and make good decisions and learn from others' mistakes. And you know, we have guys share, and yeah, we obviously continue to talk to them, but it hasn't stopped him. So we'll find a way to do it.
I wonder how much he was fined by the collective. I want to see those numbers. Why don't you just take what the Packers have done with their training camp and the rookies, or everybody, right? Riding the tricycles,
ride a bike, yeah.
Well, I was about to say, do you have the power to cut off NIL for like completely cut it off? Is that I mean, I know that's drastic, but I mean, come on, this is what, 25,
no,
give
it's
or
more than
take?
That.
More than that?
That's more than that.
Molly,
in the past year and a half?
We're approaching 30 now.
At the very beginning of that, again, the question and his quick answer.
Guys, but there's clearly team consequences. There's fines from the collectives. You know, why is this continuing to happen?
Because we continue to have guys make poor decisions.
All right.
You know,
there you go. So she asked if NIL, there was penalties involved with NIL.
Mm-hmm.
And his response was basically, people continue to make bad decisions.
Well, you got to find a way to hold them accountable, because clearly everything, and I get it. Like, it's unfortunate that you're in this situation where you've had to start docking people's NIL and stuff like that. But I mean, you're at the point now where it feels like drastic measures have to be taken at some point, right? Because otherwise, what makes?
I feel like there's
a
a major opportunity being missed by Uber and Lyft in Athens, Georgia.
No kidding.
Maybe even Yellow Cab. They still got those around.
I was about to say,
right?
do they still have taxis?
Yeah, I don't know what the transit system looks like there, but obviously and you can't cast the die, because what Carson Beck had to say, and it was at SEC Media Days when he was asked about it, and he said, you know, you got to grow up, you got to make better decisions. It's not every single player on that Georgia roster that has been guilty of some of these driving infractions or going at a potentially deadly rate of speed. But if it falls on the watch of Kirby Smart and he continues to have to address it, this is, I know in certain college towns that this probably gets overlooked, or maybe, you know, police officers in some of those cases, they turn a blind eye. But for it to continually happen, and he has to continually address this instead of spending time focusing on winning another championship, beating Alabama at Bryant-Denny Stadium. It's just a lot of excess noise, and it's unneeded.
And you're right that it's not every player, but let's just look at, the last 2 years where this has been a major issue. Let's say there's been 200 unique players on the Georgia State. It's lower than that, but let's just say it's 200. And this has affected, nearly 30 guys now? That's 15%. 15% of your roster over the last 2 years that this has affected. It's not, 3 or 4 players. That's a large chunk of the players you've had in that program over the last 2 years that have been affected by this and have made stupid decisions.
There's just a disconnect somewhere, and you just wonder where it is, because Kirby Smart in the Georgia program, they do exactly what Alabama and everybody else does. They bring speakers in, and in their situation, there was loss of life, and if that doesn't get anybody's attention, then I don't think anything will.
It won't.
And that's why I think they continue to have problem after problem, because you can point to people losing their life around this football program, that should be a wake-up call, that you need to get things in order. And whether it's the speakers or the storylines that happen because of that death, then you know what? I mean, I really don't know what else you can do. If you cannot wake them up to realize how serious this is, and it continues to happen and happen and happen, it's just mind-boggling.
I don't know if we've had any repeat offenders on that Georgia football team that have gotten pulled over, cited, and then they've gone back and done it again. I can't recall any. But you would think just whatever message you send to make an example of someone or a group that are guilty of this, you would think that it would resonate with the rest of the team and realize, hey, this is a hot button for Coach Smart. He does not play with this. If you get caught, it's going to be more than whatever that monetary amount is from the NIL.
Well, and that's my thought, is clearly whatever punishment is on the table for these infractions, it's not enough, because it's not enough where the players on the team look around at their teammates and go, oh, I don't want to go what that guy went through, whether it's a physical punishment and doing something after practice and running stadiums with weights above your head, or part of your NIL getting revoked, whatever it is. Clearly it is not severe enough to where other players on that team are looking around and going, I'm going to be extra careful and make sure I don't make that mistake, because clearly whatever the punishment is, it's enough to go, I'm not that worried about it. I'm still going to do what I want to do, and I'll deal with the consequences later.
What about the leadership inside the locker room? Where's that? Where's your team captains?
I'll say, based on what you brought up, the comments made by Carson Beck, are you not getting in everybody's face? Like, what the hell are you guys doing?
I mean,
well, unfortunately, the nature of the locker room, and it's not this way at every single program, but I think now with NIL, it's a me, mine, me, my deal, me.
It's fair.
It's all about me. And when I don't get my way, adios. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality. And it's not just at Georgia. You had a player in the SEC, it was either last year or a couple of years ago. He's griping and complaining in week 3 about not getting enough targets and catches. Not having enough design plays towards him. So you know what he threatens to do? Get me a new deal, or I'm not playing. I'm gone. Screw you guys.
Well, speaking of new deals, Charles Huff, who is the
this is what I'm talking about.
Who is the head coach of Marshall?
Finally, some good news.
I mean, this is not Charles Huff, very well respected when he was an assistant coach at the University of Alabama.
Absolutely,
he's done a really nice job at Marshall, and he goes to the podium yesterday. They're playing Ohio State this weekend, and he had this to offer up to anybody potentially looking for an NIL deal.
I feel good about the track we're on. Trust me, I know where we are, but I feel good about the track we're on, and I feel good about the players we have. Would love to have some of those guys from Ohio State too. So if they want to transfer on down, we've got a Tudor's Biscuit NIL, all you can eat. So if any of those guys that run really, really fast at Ohio State like Tudor's Biscuits, I promise you, all you can eat all day if you transfer here. So, but yeah.
So I did not see, did Ryan Day go to social media like Chuck Martin did and blast Alabama for illegal recruiting? Because that's illegal recruiting. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah, technically.
Technically, you can't openly offer an NIL deal to an opposing team's players, right? The NCAA has come down on Marshall today, right?
Haven't seen that yet.
That's great.
I'm looking at Tudor's Biscuit World.
See, this is what NIL was supposed to be about,
Yes,
right? You have a biscuit place in your college town that wants to give, your play. Come here and gorge yourself on our biscuits and we'll pay you money. Like, this is what it's supposed to be about. This is great.
I love it.
Yes, it's awesome.
And we always cite, to me, one of the best ones when it originally came together was the guy at Nebraska.
The coldest.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was.
Oh, it was incredible.
So
it was incredible.
And since he transferred, now it's Nash Hutmacher, and he's known as the polar bear. So like it still kind of works, but the coldest was by far the best.
I mean, that's a once in a lifetime deal right there.
The coldest Crawford. We miss him.
How's he doing?
I actually think he's at LA Tech.
Okay.
Why did he leave Nebraska?
I don't think he really played.
Oh.
He got too cold.
It
wanted to
cold.
go somewhere warmer.
I think he's at Louisiana Tech, though.
Yeah, the coldest.
See?
50 passes for 813 yards and 6 touchdowns as a junior.
There you go.
Good for him.
He's a good player.
That could have been his high school stats. I don't know. He's originally, though, from Shreveport.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he went
So he's back home.
He went home.
A lot warmer there than it is in Lincoln.
Yes.
I've never been to Lincoln, but
It is cold.
I have been to Omaha in the wintertime.
I see what you got sitting there.
This?
Yeah. Go ahead. You've been wanting to do it for a while. Go ahead and pop it. There you go.
This is a Mystic Beverage. MysticBeverage.com. This is the mango infused lift with a green coffee bean
That's your
extract. I love it. Oh, it's fantastic. You can find it there in your local Pig. It is the instant boost that you need to get you through the workday or a 4-hour radio show. MysticBeverage.com, made right here in the state of Alabama in beautiful Blunt Springs, check out the website. They not only have the lift, but a lot of other like the Nirvanic and other products, just whatever mood you want to be in. MysticBeverage.com. This stuff is great. I'm going to finish this.
He's so locked in now.
Yeah, he is. He's very locked in. Very much so. When we come back on Three Man Front, what's going on with Tua Tagovailoa? We'll give you an update, and an ESPN NFL personality defends Bryce Young. That's right. Goes crazy about what's going on with Bryce Young in Carolina. That's next on Three Man Front. It is 119, Jocks 94.5 on this Wednesday. If you missed any of our interviews today, whether it was Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider, Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Tye Richardson from ESPN Radio in Arkansas, or Jonathan Nelson, who joined us about 30 minutes ago talking about the Barons' playoff hopes against the Smokies, you can download the Three Man Front podcast. I want to tell everybody about our friends at Courtesy GMC there in Trussville. My parents brought a brand new Terrain from Courtesy about a year ago when they had totaled their previous vehicle. They went to Courtesy, they were taken care of, and they just got their car serviced for the first time since they've owned this new vehicle. And needless to say, it was seamless. It was great. The hospitality was out of this world. Not only if you're getting your car serviced or if you're in the market for a pre-owned vehicle or a brand new vehicle, that's the place where you need to go. You don't need to drive an hour to go buy a new brand new vehicle or a pre-owned vehicle. You can go to Trussville, located there off of I-459 and 2059, their exit 32 off of I-459 on Edwards Lake Road. Best in the business, whether it's the Terrain, the Acadia, the Yukon XLs, the Yukons, whether it's the wonderful vehicles, the trucks like the Canyons and the Sierras. They've got all sorts of trim packages for you today to go check out. Whether you go by and see them in person or you want to visit them online and take a look at all their great deals and their inventory, go to courtesybirmingham.com. The name says it all. Courtesy GMC, located off I-459, exit 32 in Trussville, next to Lowe's. Big story yesterday. Bryce Young is benched by the Carolina Panthers. Well, one guy who's been around the NFL for a long time, Mel Kiper Jr. of ESPN, he did not take too kindly about this decision.
I think it's mishandled is the word, because when you drafted Bryce Young, you knew he was an outlier. You know, Russell Wilson was bigger, right, taller, but only 5'10" 3/4. That opened it up for the 5'10" quarterback. But Russell Wilson was 205, 208 coming out, not 180. Okay, Kyler Murray, because of Russell Wilson, became the number 1 pick overall, different body type than Bryce Young. So you knew Bryce Young, not only short, but small, diminutive quarterback, needed help, right? Also continuity. You draft a quarterback. Everybody said he's got this great infrastructure in Carolina around him, right? With the head coach, the coordinator, the quarterback coach, everything's there, the senior assistant, everything's in place. And then you see him beat C.J. Stroud on the field as a rookie, right? If you take out the 3 games he threw multiple interceptions, he was 5 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns, 3 picks, okay? Had some decent games last year, okay? But then you go into this year, you change everything because C.J. Stroud's doing so well in Houston. We got to destroy this thing. We got to blow it up and start over because, C.J. Stroud's doing so great in Houston. These coaches aren't getting it done. So we bring in an offensive coach who was with Baker and others, right? Bring in a new pass game coordinator, new quarterback coach for Bryce Young. Then we don't play him in the preseason. We play him 1 series in the final preseason game against the AOGs. None of those guys are playing for Buffalo, by the way. They went 1 series down the field and they're rah, great. We got it. We accomplished everything we wanted to. I'll give you a little note. C.J. Stroud played in 2 preseason games this year. Okay, he played 4. Derek Carr played in 2 preseason games. Why? Because Clint Kubiak was coming in with a new offense, and Derek Carr is a veteran, played in 2 preseason games. Bryce Young played 1 series of a final preseason game against the nobodies on defense for the Buffalo Bills. Does that make sense to you? When in 2 games in, we're saying he can't play? Yes, his confidence was shattered, right? Yes, he does need to sit behind Andy Dalton for a little bit. But to blame this on Bryce Young is ridiculous. The blame here goes to the organization, the owner, for mishandling.
I can't disagree with much of anything he just said.
No, I agree with a lot of what you just heard from Mel right there. And I do think that a big part of this whole situation is you look at what C.J. Stroud did in Houston, and I understand their first-round picks. They're both rookies last year. I understand where the comparisons come from. I think we would all agree that DeMeco Ryans is far above Dave Canales when it comes to the hierarchy of coaching in the NFL. Nothing against Canales. I don't think he's a bad coach. He did some really good things in Tampa Bay. But to the point that Mel Kiper just made, you have a completely new offense. Okay, you went out and got a Deontay Johnson. Okay, the pieces around him, he doesn't have a running game. His offensive line is bad. His receivers are average at best. He does have issues. He's not blameless in this. He has had problems. There are things that he did well at Alabama that have not translated to the NFL, and I totally get that. But I don't think that it's also his career's over. This guy's just bad. I really do think a change of scenery would benefit him. I think sitting behind Andy Dalton or another quarterback would be beneficial. I'm always in favor, and I understand when these guys spend top 10 picks on quarterbacks, you need him to play immediately, right? You're making a big investment on a guy that would essentially ride the bench. But you look at a lot of guys that had the opportunity to come into the league and learn for a while. Your Aaron Rodgers of the world, your Jordan Loves of the world, your Patrick Mahomes of the world. Those are the guys that light it up. C.J. Stroud, what he did was remarkable last year, but that is not normal, right? Joe Burrow, I know he got hurt his rookie year. He was bad his rookie year, right? Peyton Manning still holds the record for most interceptions thrown in a season in his rookie season. Like, there is a track record of guys really struggling early on in their careers and then turning a corner. But I'm with Mel. You completely change your offense. You don't really add any weapons, and 2 games into the season, you're already ready to bench the guy. It doesn't make sense. And the preseason comment, that's league wide. There are a number of players that you can look at these first few weeks of the season and go, yep, you needed to play in the preseason, but The Rams didn't do it a couple years ago, and they won a Super Bowl, so now everyone wants to copy that.
Not to mention the fact the owner of the franchise was all in on Bryce Young.
Yeah. They could have gotten C.J. Stroud.
Absolutely.
They had the number 1 pick.
Yeah. I mean, and they gave up a lot of capital to get Bryce Young. And so that's always going to be one of those things that's going to come back to haunt them. Not only do you not have a quarterback currently that puts you in a position to at least score some points, because you're not even doing that in Carolina. It'll be interesting to see if Dalton is able to at least get them competitive in a football game, as opposed to, being knocked out early in the first half after you give up a couple scores.
Well, and I was about to say, if he looks like a disaster for the first few weeks, how does that then change people's perspective on Bryce Young? Because a lot of people now are, he's just terrible and he's just bad. And he has been bad. That's completely fair. But to think that Andy Dalton's going to go in there and absolutely light it up or something, I don't think that's going to happen. And if you're Carolina, you're now in a situation where you're back to square one next year. And do you really think that the team constructed as it is now is going to be significantly better with Shadur or Quinn or Carson Beck as your quarterback? Probably not.
Also on the quarterback front, Tua Tagovailoa has gone on the injured reserve, which means he cannot play for the next 4 weeks. Conrad, what are you hearing on your Tua websites, your message boards that you frequent early in the mornings in the darkness of your basement?
Page.
Yes, your fan page. What are you hearing about the future of Tua Tagovailoa?
Yeah, so the Dolphins announced yesterday that they're going to put him on injured reserve. So what that means is that guarantees that he's missing at least the next 4 games. And it gives him the option. It looks like, based on everything we've heard, we know that he has come out and said or told people in his circle that he's not planning on retiring. He is working with, I guess, talking through ways to prevent these injuries in the future, or I guess long-term potential consequences if he does continue to play with concussion specialist. And so putting him on IR was the right move. I don't think he needs to come back in a month personally, but it opens the door where if he progresses the way that they like, that he can come back, 4 weeks from now. But that's the latest that I've heard. He's talking with a concussion specialist, no plans to retire, but he did get put on IR yesterday. So we won't see Tua for at least a month. And personally, I hope it's a little longer.
All right. So since he's gone on the injured reserve, there's been a lot of talk about his contract. What happens? So 4 years, $212.1 million contract extension that he signed over the summer, which includes a $167 million in guaranteed money. Now, generally speaking, that guaranteed money is paid out if Tagovailoa remains on a roster or is cut due to injury. The decision to retire, meanwhile, could put those earnings in jeopardy. So if he retires, he may not get the remaining portion of his contract.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what happened with Andrew Luck when he retired and how he handled that. Because if I remember correctly,
this is what happened. He was owed $58 million.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck was left on his deal, and he retired in 2019, also at the age of 29. Indianapolis let Luck keep roughly 25 of the $58 million that they owed him.
I knew that they had given him a goodwill payment.
They let him. But they also retained the rights to Luck.
So if he unretired.
So if he unretired, they still had the rights to him. Now, Detroit Lions receiver Calvin Johnson, he retired at the age of 30 in 2016. He gave up $68 million he was due to receive over the course of the next 5 seasons. So he did not have the same kind of deal that Oliver Luck had. So he turned away $68 million to walk away from the game. So according to Spot Track, $43 million of Tua's money is guaranteed. His $42 million signing bonus plus a $1 million base salary has already been paid out in 2024. So if he were to walk away right now, he just got $44 million on his taxes for this year. That's been taken care of. But there's still the remaining $124 million of guaranteed money. So if he were to retire without them having a medical, like a firm medical reason, like you can't play football anymore. But if it's his choice to retire, he will not get that money. There would have to be some type of settlement, just like Oliver Luck did with Indianapolis in regards to the money still owed. So
And I don't know with Tua, I'm sure there is some financial consideration. You think about, generational wealth, but his portfolio is going to look just fine. If it's $80 million, I'm sure that he's probably invested wisely. After taxes, you pay your agent. You still have more money than you can deal with, but then you weigh it out and you say, okay, well, what is my quality of life going to be after football? And if I need help getting up in the morning, if I need help, reminding me where I'm going and why I'm standing in this room, there's no amount of money that's worth all that.
He has made $73 million as of today in his professional football career. That's a pretty good bankroll if you were to decide to.
It's also really good in the state of Florida, right?
Walk away.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
No state income tax. And on top of that, he's got Perry Ellis to fall back on.
Not getting any more of my money.
And Talia's contract.
It didn't handle well in the wash.
Yes, Canadian Football League contract.
Exactly.
Yeah, that works out.
And it faded a little bit with that.
Can you still wear it?
I can. Just, I don't feel great about it. Like I said, it's more of a Florida Keys vibe or go to the Bahamas.
He just got it to rub it in my face.
I don't think I'm going to pull that off in Birmingham. My seashell necklace. I'm just kidding.
Shark tooth necklace.
Yeah. More three-man front on this Wednesday. Jocks 94.5. It's the Wednesday edition of Three Man Front. Thanks for tuning us in on this hump day. If you missed any of our interviews, you can download the Three Man Front podcast, and you can check out everything that you possibly missed today, including Brian Edwards, Chris Stewart, Tye Richardson, Jonathan Nelson, all joined us here on the program. Now, Molly, you said your family's got a connection with Craig Kimbrell. Is that correct?
Yes, my dad was his youth league baseball coach.
How about that? How about that?
So my dad likes to tell everyone, "Oh yeah, I coach Craig."
Helped him develop that heater.
Sure did. He was his coach.
Well, he was just let go by the Baltimore Orioles.
I will have to let my dad know. He will be very disappointed.
He had a 5.33 ERA. He had 23 saves for the Orioles, but they have let him go. They have designated him for assignment.
Yeah, they've been playing some bad baseball lately, which I appreciate. But
Braves will bring him back, pay him way too much money.
For the last couple weeks of the season?
No, just next year.
Oh, speaking of your Braves, they lose last night 6-5.
Yeah, that was a jewel.
Atlanta blew a 4-run lead. They dropped their third in a row. How about this stat? This is crazy. So Marcell Ozuna, he had 2 hits last night, okay? He is now hitting .303 for the season. That's outstanding.
Very good.
Outstanding.
Especially this year.
He has not hit a home run for Atlanta in 26 games.
That's surprising.
But here's the other weird stat for you with Marcell Ozuna. He has not driven in a run in 19 games.
Ooh.
So you're hitting .303. You haven't hit a home run in a month, and you haven't driven in a run in almost 3 weeks.
It tells me his teammates aren't getting on base enough.
That's exactly what it is. And if there's been one plus side to that stretch, has been Matt Olson has actually picked it up at the plate. But when you're well below par or Matt Olson expectations for the first half of the year, I'm just done with this season, man.
Can I share a fun stat before we stop baseball?
If it has to do with the Braves, I would rather you save it.
No,
Go
it's
ahead.
not about the Braves. Juan Soto hit a home run in the game against the Mariners last night. He has now hit a home run in every Major League Baseball ballpark. He's 25 years old. It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, another minute has gone by. Another Brave probably just got injured.
Schwelly's on the hump tonight.
Your favorite.
He'll have explosive diarrhea due to all the Skyline chili he's been eating. I don't know.
He's 6-7 with a 3.73
I'm
ERA.
proud of Swelly. He has done a great job.
Braves are 2 games back. So if the season ended right now, there's no more baseball.
No.
For you.
Mm-mm.
We got, 10 games left? Something like that?
Around that number, depending on the team.
Plenty of time.
Meanwhile, Molly's Tigers beat the Royals last night in extra innings.
Mm-hmm.
They're knocking on the door to the
They
playoffs.
sure are, 1.5.
I'm telling you, what's going to come down, the Braves are going to end up sweeping the Mets, and they're going to make it into the playoffs. And they're
just to irritate you, right?
Just to irritate me.
Hey, more
frustrating.
baseball.
It has been a frustrating season.
I know.
You hear me, Braves fans? Chop on for the A.
So you were at an event last night, but you had the game on and
Yeah, I drop my, unless it's on Fox or it's the ESPN game. I'm listening to Jocks 94.5, or if it's on Jocks 3 or Jocks 2.
But I know you were at an event, so I knew that you had an opportunity.
No,
to
they
watch
had it right there on our lane, and it totally threw me off as I'm watching them give up that lead. It got in my head. Golly, turn the channel.
Gutter ball Roberts. After seeing that,
I was about to say,
There's no gutter
did the Braves
balls.
beat themselves and beat you at bowling?
No, I didn't have a great average last night. I was off. I was good the last 2 weeks, but we won all 7 points in our league, so that was good.
He was worried about last night.
Well, but it turns out it was not the team we thought we were going to.
Okay, he was talking.
I was
smack.
misinformed by Gringo. I'll put that one on him.
Yeah, Gringo had given him some false information.
They aren't who we thought they were.
I think he gave you that information so you would be fired up, like you were going into that match last
That's actually
night.
good thinking on Gary's part.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, it kind of played down to the competition because we were giving up, I think, 130 something.
So basically, it was
handicap-wise.
South Florida.
Yeah,
First 3.5 quarters, South Florida.
I was like Auburn versus New Mexico. First 30 minutes of that game.
Okay, makes sense. When we come back on Three Man Front, we'll do some Pat Ponders and the worst thing that Conrad has seen on Three Man Front.
143, it's three-man front. Conrad has a doozy. We don't know what it is, but the worst thing that he's seen coming up. But right now, 5 questions provided by one Patrick Smith. This is what we call Pat Ponders.
I want to know what you're thinking. Tell me what's on your mind.
It's time for Pat Ponders.
Brought to you by Courtesy GMC. Visit courtesybirmingham.com for all information on their brand new inventory and deals they have in the month of September. Question number 1, we were just talking about Tua Tagovailoa. He's been placed on the IR for the next 4 games. So my question has to do with the team itself. What chance do you now give the Dolphins of making the playoffs in the AFC?
Skylar Thompson's got that swag to him. Love that quote. Go ahead, Conrad.
Less than 10%. That is not a... I'm sure Skylar Thompson's a great person. That dude is not an NFL quarterback, and unless they can get somebody in there that can take advantage of the weapons that they have, they're going to be so limited. They already struggled to beat good competition with Tua. Yeah. Even if he only misses 4 games, or I guess 5 now. Yeah. No, basically 0%, in my opinion.
I don't want to say 0, but I'd probably go with like 5 or 10%.
Okay.
So right now, and just quickly, we do this with college schedules. At Seahawks.
No loss.
Titans at home.
Yeah, you'll win that one. You should.
At the Patriots.
Coin toss. We'll give it to them.
At the Colts.
No.
Cardinals at home.
No.
At the Bills.
No.
At the Rams.
No.
Vegas at home.
Sure.
Maybe.
Patriots at home.
Maybe.
Yeah, they probably split with the Patriots.
At the Packers.
No.
And the Jets at home.
No.
At the Texans.
No.
That doesn't sound at least 8 wins there. So
49ers at home, and then at Cleveland, and then you finish up at the Jets.
I think at this point a good, I guess, outcome for them, like 7-10. I think you can look at that and go, okay, well, if Tua was here, that's probably good enough to flip a couple games and get us in the playoffs. So, yeah, they're probably about a 6-7 win team right now without him.
All right, let's stay in the state of Florida for our next question. Which state of Florida fan base do you think is the most miserable right now? Is it the Jags, the Gators, or the Seminoles?
Seminoles.
It's the Seminoles.
Now it's just it's beyond just ludicrous. You can understand first week, and then your next loss and getting dominated by Boston College, and then to have Memphis roll in there and do what they did. And the reason why is you had so many high hopes, like our buddy FSU Dave in the offseason, and just thinking he was going to be turnkey after what we got for 13 games last year. But now you look at the rest of their schedule. And Cal, I'm taking Cal this weekend to knock them off. And then look at the rest. Can you find now 4 wins?
Yeah, I think bowl, if you lose this game, I think bowl eligibility is out of the question if you're Florida State. So, I think it's the Seminoles as well. The Jags have been a disappointment, but again, it's the Jaguars. Like,
Florida fans have been there for a while.
Let's be honest, exactly. Florida fans have been down in the dumps for a while, and you kind of knew coming into the season it was going to be ugly. But Florida State fans, I mean, you thought that you went from being robbed of a national championship in a lot of their eyes to, I mean, they're one of the worst Power 4 teams in the country right now. Like, not even the ACC, like just every conference in the country, they're one of the worst teams.
And two guys, if you're a Florida fan, there's hope because you know that they're prepared to get rid of the current coach and potentially go and get Lane Kiffin or whoever else is to resurrect the program.
Yes.
Florida State stuck with Mike Norvell for a long time and a lot of money.
Did you say Florida State, Molly?
Oh, for sure. I mean, you get left out of the playoffs last year after you win the ACC, and then you turn around going into this season with such high expectations, and you are 0-3 to start out. So
not only that, you have seen just dreadful offense dating back to last season, even in the ACC championship game.
Yeah, I mean, unless you have some star quarterback in recruiting or through the portal or something, I don't know what makes you super optimistic about next year either.
All right, next question. When a player, musical artist, or actor gets in trouble with the law, Does a serious criminal charge impact your desire to enjoy an entertainer's art?
Depends on what it is. Yeah. Without getting too descriptive, it just depends on what it is. Some things are just, in my eyes, I will never go and spend money or endorse or watch a certain thing if one of these celebrities or athletes has crossed the line. I still find it hard. I know he said he's sorry. I cannot forget what happened to those dogs in the dog fighting with Michael Vick. There's other athletes and entertainers can't do it.
Can you put that aside, Conrad, and enjoy your favorite player or actor or musician?
I'm with Landrum for the most part, yes, I can. I think I can separate the human being from the performer or the athlete or whatever. I mean, let's be honest, I kind of have to say that, right? My favorite celebrity is Kanye West. Like, it doesn't get more controversial than that. Granted, he's never done anything criminal to where he's gone to jail or anything, but there's a lot of things that he says that I think are horrible, but I'm still going to listen to his music because he makes really good music, and I'm still going to wear his shoes because I like his shoes. But if it came out that he was a serial killer, no, I'm not going to support him. Like, there's different levels to it, right? I think you can have opinions or you can do things that I wouldn't do or morals that I don't have. But if it's extreme, like he brought up with the Michael Vick situation, or like, murder, like serious things like that, then no. I mean, I don't know. Were people O.J. Simpson fans after what happened? Like, was that still a thing? Because I feel like probably not.
No, they weren't.
Exactly. Yeah. So that level, no. Absolutely not.
I mean, I think you two hit it on. It just depends on what it is.
Martha Stewart, I could overlook, right?
But P. Diddy, will you listen to P. Diddy?
No.
No.
Then listen to him in the
I don't
first
watch Kevin Spacey movies anymore. That guy's
That's a good one. Yeah. No.
My favorite comedian growing up, or I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, but like I really liked Louis C.K. when I was growing up, or when I was a teenager. I thought he was hilarious. I don't listen to his stuff anymore because when you joke about something and then the actions in your life reflect it, that's when it's like, okay, you have a deep-rooted issue as a human, and I can't support that.
All right, that is today's Pat Ponders, brought to you by Courtesy GMC. Go to courtesybirmingham.com to follow all their great inventory that they have on the lot.
Now, speaking of that conversation, we see good and we see bad. Conrad has seen something bad. This is the worst thing that I've seen.
This is the worst thing I've seen.
Been in quarantine and like I need to get out and party. Woo! What's better than beach and a few drinks and Jeeps? Man, getting better than that. Law enforcement's definitely made their visibility and made people chill out and not be as crazy. The cops are doing their job as long as they don't be mean to people who are actually being innocent. Then I'm all gravy, baby.
All right, well, we're going to travel across the pond to Kettering, England. And I'll just go ahead and say this is a sad story, but there's humor in it, I suppose, as well. So over in Kettering, England, this happened on September the 7th, so not quite 2 weeks ago. But at Kettering General Hospital, Craig Smith was a patient who was being treated at the hospital. It doesn't give details of what he was being treated for, but he was considered to be, he wasn't doing well. He was considered to be a vulnerable patient and somebody that was being closely monitored by the staff there at Kettering General Hospital. He was then lost in the hospital on September 7th. They were not able to locate him until a few hours later when staff were searching the hospital and they noticed a hole in part of the roof in a section of the hospital. So it turns out that what had happened is Mr. Smith had left his hospital room and wandered around. He had found himself above the catering department of the hospital, at which point part of the floor caved in and he fell through the ceiling of the catering department, which I'm assuming is the kitchen.
Oh, no.
And unfortunately, when he fell through the ceiling, he fell into a large oven.
What?
Yes.
Like a walk-in oven?
It says a catering oven.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming a very large oven.
That's a big oven.
Yes. So unfortunately, the hospital staff eventually were able to locate him inside of the oven where it was announced that he had passed away due to injuries suffered from falling into the The oven.
Does it say like it was a head injury, or was the oven on?
And nobody knew he was in there?
It says no provisional cause of death has been given, but toxicology and histology tests have been ordered. So I guess that will come out in the coming days, but as of right now, they don't know exactly what it was. But I mean, he was already in a vulnerable state being there, treated at the hospital, and then you've fallen into an oven.
Imagine that worker when the timer goes off.
Yeah, I hope it wasn't on, but given the circumstance, I'm going to assume that maybe it was.
Oh, that is so sad.
So,
got a fresh batch of muffins here, and oh dear God.
So yeah, that's the worst thing that I've seen.
Speaking of, did you get the fish order?
Crap.
I was about to say, that look on his face meant no.
That absolutely meant no, but it's your fault for not reminding me.
What's it my responsibility to remind you?
Because you hit me with it late in the show yesterday. I don't know. I didn't have a piece of string to tie around my finger. I will do that today.
He had his Mystic beverage. Now he's locked in. He's gonna.
Yeah, he's got it.
I didn't have it yesterday.
Exactly.
And that's what happens when you don't have Lyft from Mystic Beverage, mysticbeverage.com.
That's right. That's my favorite part of the show now.
How much would it take for you and that stinky fish that you're going to smell without puking? You're going to try to on the challenge?
Uh-huh.
How much NIL would it take for you to endorse that product without any kind of nasal restraints?
Well, what do I have to do to endorse it? Like, I just have to crack the thing open and
crack it.
Smells like
Smells
Sweden.
like Baltic.
Smell like Sweden.
Smells like Sweden.
Smells like Stockholm. Did you watch? I got nothing from the videos. I'm trying to pump you up. I'm sending you videos.
Yeah, that's not pumping me. Yeah, I'm not. I'm ignoring.
Did you watch them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm ignoring all of those videos.
I mean,
that Pat's
unfortunately.
Was it the TikTok?
Yeah.
You have to convert them for me. I can't.
I'm not going to that.
Yeah, see, I don't have TikTok either.
I'm not
so
on
I can't.
TikTok.
You don't?
No.
No, we're not
I
communists.
try to stay very far away from that.
God bless America. Keep that
So you
TikTok
didn't see
stuff
any?
out of
You
here.
didn't see any of the videos then?
No, but I don't need to. I know what they are.
I like the videos.
Now, I will say sometimes if
But
you
I
send
can't watch
something,
them.
if you send one and I'm like, I think I want to watch this, then I'll just ask Paige, hey, can I get on your TikTok real quick? And I'll go look it up. But I'm not down. No, I don't want that on my phone.
I don't want that on my phone.
I don't like TikTok. But I understand the purposes.
I was riding down the road this morning coming into work. It was the street that is off of my street, and saw a woman with, and you could tell her camera was set up on her dash, and she's doing this. And I'm like,
She's voguing?
Yeah.
She's voguing.
So is either she's listening to Madonna or she's creating some kind of meme.
So do you remember, it was a few weeks ago, I don't know if we talked about it like off the air, if I texted it or whatever, but they came out with that reality show with the TikTok Mormon moms.
The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Paige has been watching that show.
Does she like it?
Yes. It has taken years off of my life. If you ever just want to have no hope for humanity anymore, that show and the obsession that people have with TikTok and putting their entire lives on social media is sad.
I guess I might start converting the videos, Molly.
Yeah.
Please do. Don't leave me out. Don't leave Conrad out.
I mean, it's some
Just 'cause
really
we
good
love our
stuff that
country.
you've missed the last couple of
You
days.
can screen record them.
Yeah.
It could have been
I
worse
know.
for that guy over in England at the hospital, by the way. Could have been the meat grinder.
There could have been surströmming in the oven.
That too. That's going to do it for us. Paul Feinbaum. The Paul Feinbaum Show is next. Have a great rest of your hump day.